Here's to you, dear listeners, and welcome to another episode of Metal Gear Mondays, currently the most thorough Death Stranding podcast on the internet. I am your host, Sam Wright, and we're back for another episode. We played more Death Stranding, if you can believe that, and we're going to talk about it. And I hear you wondering, are you questioning deep down inside of your heart of hearts, who the hell is we? Well, I'll tell you, it's Cole Duncan.
Also known as technical difficulties, man, because boy, oh boy, it's been a fun week with technology for me.
We're also here with Zach James.
Ooh.
AKA
Crispy Pop.
AKA
Crispy Pop.
Chris Popman.
We got that Crispy Pop right at the top. And speaking of Chris, we got Chris Hampton.
AKA Mr. 8 out of 10.
Mr. 8 out of 10 himself, baby.
There he is.
Still not good enough for my puppy.
How's everybody doing this week aside from just the obvious?
Well, me struggling to fucking open that monster right there was a pretty big highlight.
Yeah, I'll say if I could, get a PC that was, actually pretty reliable, that'd be fantastic. But we're all right. Otherwise, we're all right.
We all right. Yeah, everything's going great. We're gonna talk about some more Death Stranding.
Mm-hmm.
But before we do talk about Death Stranding, what the fuck is Death Stranding?
Death Stranding.
It's a spin-off.
Death Stranding, Chenandler Bing.
Oh,
starring Adam Sandler.
Oh Jesus.
David
I
Spade.
want to introduce. Oh no, please no. Kevin James and Rob Schneider. I want to introduce a new segment to the show that has never been done before. We've never done anything like this. It's going to revolutionize the way people listen to this podcast.
Do tell.
The segment is a segment that I like to call Bumbling in the Dark with Cole Duncan.
Oh, no, I hate this. No, I
hey
hate
Cole,
this.
what do we talk about last time, Cole? Could you walk us through what we talked about last time on the podcast?
Oh, okay. So last time we talked about a whole lot of stuff,
Yeah.
So we talked about our boy Sam, and him
Who,
racing.
me?
No, other Sam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, our boy
Who,
Reedus.
Sam, from the Discord.
No. I'm talking about our boy Norman Reedus, some Sam Porter Bridges.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So, Sam races deers off of cliffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The plural of deer is deer.
I quit the podcast. Good night, everybody.
Perfect. That's all we needed. Thanks, Cole. Bye.
And then there were three.
No, so we got Sam who races deer off cliffs, and then he ends up at one distribution center, and they're like, "Hey, man, we need you to go burn this body," and he's like, "I really don't want to do that," and they're like, "We really don't care," and they send him out there anyway, and there were some spooky boys out there. And those spooky boys got him, as well as a dude with a gold mask, and that wasn't fun, except that it was for the dude in the gold mask, and then he created a void out, and then we find out that Sam's actually a repatriate, and he can bring his soul back to his dead body, and then he comes back, and they're like, "Oh my god, you're special," and he's like, "I know, I've been known," and
we've been snowing about that.
He's been snowing. And so they're like, okay, well, we need you to go bring this morphine to this lady. And he's like, I don't really want to do that either. Like, I don't think you understand how much we really don't care. Also, it's your mom. Also, she's dying. Also, she's the president. And he's like, well, I'm sorry, what now? And he does all that, and then she dies, and it's really sad. And
you have 30 more seconds.
And then a lot of bad stuff happened. A city almost blows up. It doesn't blow up. Fragile's hot. Mama is at the very
Careful.
end. But before that, there's another big squid BT, and you have to kill it. And the junk dealer sucks. Did I get it?
Yeah, you got it. You got 15 more seconds if you want to throw in any more. 10 more seconds.
Cool. Yeah. Also, I hate the Elder. No, I think I got it. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, cool. That's good. Good. Yeah, so if in case you didn't figure out from all that, we played the prologue and the first 4 chapters of Death Stranding last week.
Yeah.
And this week we're going to be talking about episodes 5 through 7. So be prepared for that. So before we get into it, we wanted to do a little fun little activity that we did. In case you did not know, we here on the Metal Gear Mondays podcast are big fans of a gentleman that goes by the name of Brian David Gilbert, who works for All Hail BDG, who works for Polygon.com. And he has a very great video series called Unraveled, where he just does unnecessary research on all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's very funny. And he did a bonus episode a little while back, a couple weeks ago. And he provided an 11-page document for you to figure out what your Hideo Kojima name is. And so to that end, we are going to, we're not going to explain the worksheet because it's a lot of explanation. Go
find the worksheet.
Yeah. Go to YouTube, type in Unraveled Kojima. It'll be like the first thing. Watch it. It's funny. He picks his name and then you can pick your name. And there's a lot of things on there, like embarrassing moments and like what you are, like what star sign you are and things like that, that help determine your name. And so we are going to discuss ours very quickly, starting with Cole. Cole, you went through the 11-page paper and you determined what your name would be in a Hideo Kojima game.
Yes.
Would you like to introduce yourself and your backstory,
Sure.
which we are creating on the fly?
Sure. So I am Cole Duncan, but also known as Big Opened a Bottle of Wineman. And you might be wondering why I'm known as Big Opened a Bottle of Wineman. Well, let me tell you. My mentor opened a bottle of Wineman. He was a French sommelier, and one day in the line of duty, he was caught by a just stray baguette that just flew off someone's plate, and
this dog is getting places.
It domed him, and that crunchy, crusty bread. It just took him out, and so in his stead, I picked up his wine key. And I became Big Opened a Bottle of Wineman and took revenge for my master.
Well, thank you, Big Opened a Bottle of Wineman.
Absolutely.
Zach, would you like to go next?
My Kojima name is The Isolation.
Yeah, that's way more badass.
Whoa.
You were so
That's
right.
cold.
That is cool.
Yikes.
That's real cold.
Do you have a backstory?
Backstory.
Isolation.
All right, I'll allow it. I'm gonna go next, Chris. I'm gonna have you go last since you have 6 of them.
I'm not doing all 6.
Why not?
First of all, I left the worksheet that I was doing at work. So,
Oh,
yeah.
That's where the worksheets need to go.
Yeah, right?
It's in its home.
Yeah, got to do something during those conference calls.
Yeah, you gotta do something at work.
All right. Well, we'll still let you be best for last. So I'll do mine on a hello. My name is Sam Wright, but you may know me better as Puzzle Dam.
Puzzle Dam.
The name is Puzzle Dam, baby. On a windy night, I was walking past a Goodwill store, and an explosion caused the store to blow up. and a large 500-piece puzzle flew out of the store and embedded itself into my head. And I curse the puzzles every day. You damn puzzles! And that's why I'm called Puzzle Damn.
Damn.
So,
Puzzles.
yeah. Puzzle Damn. Damn puzzles. What about you, Chris?
I am commiserating poverty men.
No, Chris, your made up name, not your real name.
Zach.
Commiserating poverty man.
Damn, Zach. I got a burn on that one.
He's coming up with that
Yikes.
fire.
Yeah,
You
he's
got a burn station nearby?
AKA Big Burning Man.
Oh man,
Big Burning Man.
I'm shipping you some aloe vera right now.
Aren't you supposed to be the isolation? Go back in your hole.
Jesus.
Yeah, go
I'm
be
sending
isolated.
Sam Porter Bridges with some aloe vera to you right now, Chris. So.
Yeah, thanks. I'll give him an S for awesome.
Sauceum. Every time I get S for awesome, I just say, "Oh, I got another sauceum."
Oh, so cool. So awesome.
Sauceum.
It's
This
sauce.
It sounds like
Little
Tommy. It sounds like Tommy Wiseau, like saying, like just complimenting you. Oh, you're so awesome.
Lisa.
Wow, it's a little baby in a jar. Sam Porter
Wow.
Bridges.
Wow, look your baby in the jar, sauceum.
I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about.
Oh, Chris, what's your backstory?
My backstory is I went to Nordstrom and found a really great jacket. And then I opened my bank account and saw that I couldn't afford it.
Oh,
Oh no.
no. That's the most tragic one out of all of us.
Yeah, it's the most relatable too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Metal Gear Mondays. No, it's time. We're gonna go to talk about this video game. All in favor, say. It doesn't matter. We're talking about it anyway. It's this thing. I'm gonna put a transition here. It's gonna be great.
Skid it, pop it up to. Hey!
I took the easy way out. I took the easy way out. I took the easy way out.
So we have entered episode 5, Mama. We have had our harrowing experience with Daddy Mads inside of the World War tornado. But now it's time for us to visit Mama's skeptical ass in her lab, which is thankfully a very short walk away. And inside some large ruins for reasons we're going to find out here in just a little bit. And when Sam walks into the lab, his Odenkirk starts freaking the fuck out, and he's very on edge about it. But Mama comes in and is just like chill out. It's this baby, and she pulls this like BT baby from the air, and Sam is wondering what that's about, and she explains that she's my daughter. And I'm her mama.
I'm her mama.
I'm Obama. And she's not able to leave the lab because this baby is connected to her by this like spiritual umbilical cord. And they scan Sam's data, and it corroborates the story that he was just in a fucking war, and Mama's just like, maybe you were trapped between space times. I don't know. And she then says that his Cupid's malfunctioning is causing the chiralium in the area to spike more than she anticipated, and says that she has to get the limiter fixed. Otherwise, they might cause another Death Stranding, which is problematic. Only problem is they have to rewrite the Cupid software, and they have to get that done by a woman named Lochna, who is living in Mountain Knot City. So we have to go to Mountain Knot City to rescue, to save the Cupid and to save the world. And we then get this explanation about why she's trapped in this lab. And it's really fucking brutal. She was giving birth. She was waiting in the hospital for a C-section. And she was chilling, and the terrorists attacked the hospital. And she got trapped under a bunch of rubble, and she was there for days. She didn't even remember how long she'd been there. And she was surviving on the water dripping in, which, like, she was drinking Timefall, right? That can't be healthy.
Yeah, that's what I assumed she was doing, yeah.
I believe the way that the timefall works is like once it hits something, it's no longer like timefall anymore. It's just water, right?
Okay, so like if it hit the building and then hit,
it was like dripping down. But I actually have a different theory as to like why this, but I don't want to say it right now because it spoils things.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later then.
Was anyone else unnerved by how like weirdly like highly detailed her tongue was inside her mouth?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. I'm not the only one who noticed.
The whole like thing of her like under the rubble. The one thing I will say about, I think I really love Margaret Qualley. I think that for some reason they gave her the most detail in her facial expressions, and it sometimes comes across a little weird.
It's definitely got that uncanny valley, but like this scene in particular, when it was like that low angle where her tongue was like realistically moving with every syllable she made. It was just like you could like see the texture on it.
Yeah, which that's why, because that's the whole thing of it too. Is this like we see that happen in real life when we talk to other people, but just like watching it in a video game is really uncomfortable.
It's almost like in Doki Doki Literature Club when the anime girl's eyes are replaced with real eyes.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, fuck that game. My God.
Yeah, I was getting a little like Mass Effect Andromeda vibes from the facial animations here because it was just like it was a bit much, a little extra.
Yeah, a little bit.
And I think like Norman Reedus and Mads and even Fragile, like the expressions have been very subtle and powerful, but this is just like way too much.
Yeah, very, very animated.
I wonder if he did that on purpose. Because I mean, the whole scene itself is very uncomfortable and sort of like, oh shit. So maybe they were like, let's ramp up these details just a little bit to add to the uncomfort factor.
Yeah, maybe kind of make you a little bit more unsettled. That's interesting. I like that. More of that analysis for the podcast.
I'll do better.
No, I'm serious. Oh my God. Anyway, but yeah, so one day when she's under this rubble, her baby became a BT, and she said that she brought death into the world instead of life. And the baby, basically it was a sacrifice for her to save herself, because the baby's crying brought the rescue crews to her, and they uncovered her from the rubble and saved her. And yeah, she does ask to take Sam's blood to do some research on it. And one fun thing that you'll note here is that when she grabs him to take his blood, he mentions very specifically, says, "You're a little cold, ain't you?" So that's interesting. Who knows why that is? And then you're off to Mountain Knot City. And can I tell you, boys, I really wish that fast travel didn't make you leave behind your cargo.
Fucking same here, dude.
Well, if you put it in your private locker beforehand, you're fine.
Well, yeah, but like you can't if you put it in there, but like you can't take it with you regardless, because the private locker stuff doesn't transfer city to city.
Yeah, it's there, like it's in that private locker.
So like if you go from
this shows how much I fast travel. So
well, exactly. If you go from like Lake Knot to South Knot, all your stuff is going to stay in Lake Knot, and you have to just fabricate more stuff at South Knot.
Oh, the way they made it sound like the tutorial was like, it'll just be here.
You're right.
I guess I'm just a sucker for pain because I've only fast traveled maybe twice.
Well, because the thing of it is, like, I think that I'd use it a lot more and probably get more stuff done if it would just let you take your stuff with you. But I feel like it's an on-purpose choice.
Oh, it absolutely is. So also another scary thing about her being trapped under there and her, her baby dying and becoming a BT, essentially, it just brings about the real world fear of obviously, like miscarrying and stuff like that. But then also just the knowledge that, you now have something dead inside you that you need to get out of you before it starts to kill you through septic shock. Yeah. Like that's all that was going through my mind after that part.
Yeah. It's rough. It's a rough scene. I remember Cole, who texted me? Zach, was it you that texted me? Like when that happened, you were just like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, but it was it was that part, but it was the part after that I texted you about being quote unquote heartbreaking, which we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Which was also not the part you thought of.
No, still not even. But I know, I'm remembering which part you're talking about now. But yeah, so the other thing, so back into the fast travel stuff really quick. This is a saga of pain in 3 acts, starring Sam Wright. Fast travel was my undoing in this game. So in this particular segment of the game, the trek up to the northern, so you have to connect a couple of places along the way to Mountain Knot City, and the first place is a way station to the north of where you are. I think I had to sneak through a swath of like BTs, but I don't think there was anything eventful here unless you guys have any stories.
Those are the ones that were like parallel to the river, right?
Yeah,
that was really the only noteworthy thing.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't have too much going on in this part.
Didn't really run into any issues at all here. It's very straightforward. I drove a lot.
Yeah, nice scenic drive.
Yeah, it was pretty
The next part, though, that's the part you got to watch out for. Because you get to this way station, and then Die Hardman says that there's some injured people at the distribution center, the north of Mountain Knot you have to get to, that need some blood, and it's a timed mission. Which we kind of discussed last week. They give you plenty of time for the time missions. I've never felt threatened by the timer.
For literally all of them. There's one that comes up later on that I was like, I definitely don't need an hour to do this.
Oh, there was one that my heart started racing because I wasn't sure if I was going to make it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it during this section?
Not this one in particular, but we will cover it on today's show.
Okay.
So the trek to the distribution center, for me at least, the time wasn't an issue, but they introduced the concept of mules that lose their minds even more and become terrorists, and you have to go right through one of their territories to get to where you're going.
And it's a whole lot of fun. It's just tons of fun.
I rolled straight through with a truck.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about it. I just walked, right?
Yeah, and I walked too.
By this point, they give you this feature where if you press the Odenkirk button to scan at the exact right time, you can negate a scanner from a mule or a terrorist camp, which is a really cool feature. And I did that, but they were roaming so close to the edge I was going against that they saw me. And one of them saw me, and I was like, oh, this will be fine. And I started punching him. And he was taking a lot of time to go down, and then they started shooting me with real ass bullets.
Yeah, they don't care. They're just like, yeah, why not? Nope. Like, let's have a void out right here, right now. Come on, have at it.
Yeah. So that's a lot of fun. They introduced this new set of wrinkles to things of people who don't give a fuck if there's void outs that happen. As a matter of fact, they'd probably prefer it. And so I just booked it, and I made it out, but. What did you guys? Do you have any trouble getting through the Terrys?
I just shot fucking booked it through with the truck, and ran even more.
With one of the goofy ass trucks that they have in this world.
These are like they drive like golf carts.
Yeah, they
really
do.
They drive completely against how they're designed.
Like golf carts.
Yeah, I love like taking a turn too fast and like almost flipping it. And then just like it slowly goes and lands back on its tires. It's fucking goofy ass things. But yeah, so aside from that, there are these. You get to the other side of this camp, and there are these marshlands on the other side, which I thought were very cool looking. I really like this area. And you get to the distribution center, which looks like shit. And turn in these medical supplies. And the guy at the distribution center mentions that the injury was not an accident, and that terrorists slipped a bomb into the package. And he's thankful that nobody died in this incident, and that they'd have to beef up security. And you connect them to the network, and you go to take a rest. And before we get to this section, it's important to note something, because I don't think we talked about this last week. Right at the tail end of episode 3, before the supercell hits, we lose contact with Amelie. So you're having a conversation with her via the holograms, the chirograms, and she mentions that she has something to tell Sam, and then her chirogram just cuts off, and Die Hardman says that we've lost contact with her. So it's important to note that's something we skipped over. We do apologize for that. That's kind of important for this next section. Sam rests, and he wakes up with the baby on the beach again. And then he looks up, and he sees that Amelie's in front of him, and she's reaching out to him, and he looks down, and fucking scared the shit out of me. This fucking game with these fucking jump scares at random places. He looks down, and he's holding one of Cliff's weird baby dolls, and it makes a loud noise and scares me, and then he drops it. And then, Cole, who do we see when Sam looks back up?
Oh, you see every voice man, gold face man, boy with a big old knife man, Higgs.
And he's using that big old knife, man.
He's using that big old knife, all right. He's at first I just thought he was just going to cut the Kipu off. But no, he does more than that. He cuts the Kipu off by stabbing Amelie in the collarbone.
It's like the collarbone. Yeah, it's the space between her shoulder and her neck, basically. And Chris, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
It kind of like, it's already bad enough that Higgs is stabbing Amelie, right? Why? Can you tell me why it was even more disturbing?
Yeah, she's got like this weird expression on her face, like she's smiling,
like she's kind of
a little bit.
Yeah.
And like, is it just me, or did Higgs kind of like give a little wink at Sam?
I think
in the background.
I think he might have when he was doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really rough. But yeah, no. So he stabs her in here, and she's smiling about it. And then as like it gets deeper, she kind of starts to pass out. And Higgs rips the necklace off her and drops her, and then puts it on himself. And then he goes to stab Sam, and then Sam wakes up. And he's laying in his room, and Amelie's chirogram is in the room with him. And she mentions to him that Higgs and the demons have reached Edge Knot, and she says that everyone's dead and that the BTs are everywhere. And Sam notices that her Kipu, that gold necklace that she wears, is gone. And she just ignores the question and says all she says is she was able to sneak away to contact him.
He's asking a lot, just like a bunch of questions that she's just not responding to whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
My bullshit radar was going like nuts here.
Oh,
absolutely
through the fucking
nuts.
Roof.
Yeah,
like,
same here.
I do not trust Amelie anymore. I think she's the big bad. I think she's the big bad.
Yes. Feed me more.
You know what? I have to stay on this side for the bet. So I'm sure.
Let's say you're playing devil's advocate at this point, because like, this is so fucking sinister, and I hate it. Like it's so, she's so sinister. Like everything, like leading up to this, like she was a little bit iffy and questionable, but like this is just like purely sinister. Even if you don't want to look at London Bridge and the way she's singing London Bridge all the time, this is so weird, and I hate it.
It is weird. It is very weird.
But she tells Sam, she says after she ignores his first question, she says that she managed to sneak away to contact him, and that she reached out literally just to tell him to keep connecting the chiral network, because it's her only hope for freedom, and that when he comes to get her, they can go back east. And she just keeps repeating that. And Sam goes, "Hey, where's your Kipu?" And then she kind of like steps back a little bit and says she'll be waiting on the beach, and then disappears. And that sucks. And then after this, Deadman calls you and he tells you some more information about like the bridge's use of BTs, and he mentions that the terrorists, the separatists, use BB tech before bridges as a way to steer BBs into the path of the Bridges 1 expedition west, and that Bridges didn't start using BB technology until that happened in order to combat that. And Sam thinks that his BB-28 was commissioned for that purpose, and that's why they can't find any records on it at all. And he tells kind of like a backstory about the original BB experiments. So they were originally conducted in Manhattan around the time of the Death Stranding, and then mentions that the area was completely wiped out by a void out. And they were doing these experiments against the public opinion, because people were super not okay with the ethical and moral quandaries of experimenting on babies like this. But the government kept it up, and after the void out happened, the acting president was killed in the blast, and then Bridget took over and officially suspended the program, and documents were shredded and facilities were shut down. And Deadman's like, but how did the terrorists get a hold of the technology after this? And so after we find this out, it's time to start the adventure, boys. It's time to brave the mountain.
The mountain's my actual hell. I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay.
I enjoyed literally nothing about the mountain whatsoever.
Wow, nothing.
So,
Nothing.
So I can already see why my upcoming Odyssey took place as it did, is because I didn't touch the mountain yet. I retraced my steps all the way back.
Yikes. But yeah, it's time to brave the mountain. We're at the distribution center, and the next step is Mountain Knot City. And you have to bring a fucking antimatter bomb to Mountain Knot to help them with a problem with some black tar that's been bubbling up in the area. And you can't like shake this thing. You can't jostle this thing.
Why was the black tar bubbling up, did they say?
It was kind of like in the city a little bit, but if you pay attention when you first arrive, it's kind of like outside the distribution center as well.
Yeah,
you kind of see it on.
They didn't say why though, did they?
No, they never said why.
Yeah,
and one can assume.
Yeah, I mean, there's, when you complete this mission, you're given some information that I think illuminates what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, I had already discovered the beauty of our hover sleds, especially after beefing it trying to ride one and falling off a cliff. But I found out, because I think I first used them for one of these in like a pizza delivery mission or whatever. Well, I just clipped it to me and fucking took off. And it keeps things flat, and it doesn't, as long as you don't like fall and cause it to fall and then explode all your fucking cargo off of it, you'll get 0% damage on things.
It's a pretty powerful, like, important little tool. I didn't know how much I would actually care to use it because I was getting so used to like having stuff on my back, but like it's pretty helpful.
Oh, I don't use vehicles anymore. I don't use vehicles anymore. Because I always want at least 2 of those things on me.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think
because you can time together and do like a little train of them, right?
Yeah, but you can only use. I believe you can only use 2 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Although it'd be funny if you go like Pied Piper, like 6 of these things behind you.
Jesus.
Yeah, I've only used. Now I only use the bikes for like when I'm on the roads, or there's a segment coming up later on we'll talk about that I was just like, fuck this on a bike the whole time. That's all I was doing.
Yeah, I don't ever use the trucks. I used the truck like in earnest one time, and that was during chapter 3 when I was delivering the packages to South Knot, like right after the bomb. But that's about the only time. I prefer the bike.
Yeah, the only time I used the truck was for the bomb, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I also used the truck for a pizza delivery mission. Got to keep that bitch flat.
The thing with the truck, I think, is that like unless the roads in your area are super developed, like the truck isn't very helpful on like the terrain.
Well, also it prevents such a big fucking target, and it does not go as fast as you think it does. Because there have been plenty of times where I'm trucking along, pun intended, and then all of a sudden, I see a random javelin just spear it in the side. I was just like, oh well, I'm hopping out now.
Well, it's like if they presented you with like a heavier load to deliver, I could see where it's like, okay, well, I have to deliver 300 kilograms worth of, I don't know, rocks, because trust me, that'll be a gripe later. I could see where it's like, okay, yeah, no, I'm going to load all of this up in the back of the truck as opposed to hoofing it on my back or on the bike. But yeah, I mean, there's just no point in using the truck.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if like that's gonna come in handy like later,
maybe
because maybe they were designed with the intention of like people doing the roads more than I think people have done. Like in Chris's universe where he did 11 roads.
I'm up to 18 now.
Good God!
And I've got the road built all the way to South Knot City, like all the way.
Where the fuck are you getting all these materials from?
So I've been raiding a lot of mule camps, and then I figured out how to get the. So I figured out how to get the mules to respawn. And also how to negotiate with the BTs, because I found out the BTs and the mules use the same like respawn intelligence, right? So if you clear out a whole camp of mules, it'll trigger that period where it'll say like porters can now cross temporarily. And it starts the countdown timer, and when the timer hits 0, they all respawn again. But if you never completely clear them out, the area never resets. It's the same with BTs. So there's like that one part of the road next to South Knot City where you can, if you just clear out the ones that are close to the road, it'll stop you from like doing that slowdown thing all the time where the Odenkirk comes up. But yeah, just as long as you don't clear out all of the BTs in that area, just the ones close to the road, they'll never respawn.
Interesting.
And so Chris brought up porters, which are basically AI versions of what you do. They're guys who have their own little shipping routes that they run and all that. Well, the design on these guys could have been a little better, because mules wear yellow jumpsuits with white accents, and porters wear white jumpsuits with yellow accents.
I've intentionally run over a porter once or twice because I thought they were mules.
So there was one where I was stuck in an area with heavy timefall. It just would not stop raining. So I fucking built myself a little timefall shelter. And all of a sudden, I see these two fucking, what I thought were mules, just running toward me. So I'm like, shit, as I'm like backing up, trying to pull my weapon. And then I'm aiming at them and I'm waiting, and they fucking la-di-da over underneath the shelter, and they're just sort of standing there. So I'm like, So I sort of like aim at them, and one guy just sort of gives me like this little wave. I'm like, what the hell? Then I walk up and I see it's like, they're porters. They're also mailmen just like you. And I'm like, well, these guys almost got fucking ganked up.
Yeah, my favorite thing about them is that like if you do like clip them with something and they're fine, like they'll stumble back and they won't do anything to you, but they'll kind of like shake their fists at you angrily for a while, and it's fucking hilarious.
You can apologize to them.
Can you?
Yeah, because I did that. I would just come flying in on my bike to the South Lake Distribution Center, and I clipped one, and the guy like got up and shook his fist at me, and I got off my bike. I went over and And I did the, hey, how's it going? And then I got really close to him and I pressed it again. He said, sorry about that.
Wait, are those the guys you can hear yelling back to you when you press that?
I think that's the people who built structures.
Yeah.
Like if you're near a structure.
Ah, okay.
But if you do it when you're near them, they will talk back to you.
Oh, that would have been a cool little feature if like you heard more of it and more of it as like the porters came into the area.
I think like I don't know if you noticed this, but when you press the button to call out, you'll hear Norman Reedus's voice come back at you, but other times you hear voices that aren't Norman Reedus, and I think that's when the porters are calling back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just always thought it was Norman Reedus's voice.
Yeah.
My favorite one is still, my name's Sam. Hey, I'm Sam too.
Yeah. Okay, so going up through the mountain, steep cliffs, snowy peaks, slow. I learned very quickly that you have to stop and let your stamina build back up, otherwise you're going to fall and beef it.
Yeah.
And I figured this out because I didn't do that, and I slipped, and the case on the floating carrier started beeping something fierce, and it scared the fuck out of me.
Real quick. Shouts out to literally everyone on the mountain who has like put down like climbing anchors, like rope anchors and ladders.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of you are actual heroes who deserve medals,
Good people,
and awards,
good
and
people,
cash prizes.
Wait, so did you guys fucking just take it and go just up and over the mountain for this delivery?
I did
For the majority of these deliveries, yeah. And
Because for this one leading up to the big one that happens next, I did like the roundabout way where I was like following the trails and shit like that.
I mean, like I'd follow a couple trails, but then I would see a route like just on the map that I thought looked a little bit cleaner or just a little bit quicker, and I would just go off and literally like blaze my own trail, and then I would find out that occasionally there would be someone who did the exact same thing, and they left like a ton of stuff to help.
I wonder if we've ever come across each other's trails that we've laid down.
That would be so cool.
So
it would be cool. Well, so Zach, when we were playing together that one time, I went back to the place that you told me you put down your signs, and I didn't see them.
It must be like a server-based thing then.
Yeah,
it is. If you actually go into the pause menu, you can see the names of all the players whose stuff you've interacted with.
I wish there was a way that we could do like you could do like a community type server, like everyone who listens to
we'd
this.
have like an MGM server.
All four of us schlepping up this mountain. But
like, not even just the four of us, like literally everyone who like listens to this podcast who is like a part of the community on PSN.
Yeah, they're all the randos. People, why don't you build us some roads there, Chris?
I don't want you guys riding on my roads, okay? You're gonna have to pay a toll
whoa,
to be on my road.
This is the
okay. This is the first antagonistic
the state of New Jersey. In his life.
But also, like you have you have no idea how satisfying it is when I was schlepping up that mountain and I was getting all these notifications of like somebody used your road, 1,400 likes awarded. And I was like,
your fucking notification feed must be blowing up all the time.
I think the game groups it because honestly, like I've built most of that road, the whole map, by myself, and I won't see anything for a while, and then like every 15 minutes or so, I'll get like a group of notifications.
I can't tell if I like or hate the phrase "schlepping up this mountain."
What's wrong with schlepping?
Just like a dirty just like you stepped in something and you schlepped your way inside with it on the bottom of your shoe.
Oh God! Well, if you're Jewish and you're doing something naughty to somebody, you're stooping them.
As long as you're not playing with your schmeckle,
you're stooping them. But yeah, so make it up this mountain. Deliver this bomb. And there's a lady here who is not happy to see you, and she does not like the Tower Network or the UCA, but she looks kind of familiar even though her face is covered. Take a hike,
and
Bridges.
She sounds
what are you doing
even
here,
more
Bridges?
familiar.
Yeah. She sounds very familiar, and Sam calls her straight out. She goes, "Hey, is that you, Mama?" And she goes,
not your mother. Calm down.
Yeah, she says, I'm not. So what she says is, I'm not yours, and yours is no kind of mama, which is like a really deep burn if you really think about it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And she very strongly says that she's in charge of the city and she speaks for the city and they don't want any part of the UCA. And during this process, she introduces herself. She says, yeah, I'm Lochna and I'm in charge. And Sam's like, fuck, I need you to fix my thing. You need to help me. And she says, he says, I need your help. And she says, well, we don't need yours. And then she hangs up. And Die Hardman comes in and explains that Lochna is Mama's twin and that she was part of the Bridges 1 expedition, and says that Mama's real name is Malingen. And I did some digging here because I was just like, these are so weird. I'm going to Google these. So Lochna and Malingen are names of these double impact craters in northern Sweden. Lochna is about 4 miles in diameter and Malingen is about 3,000 feet in diameter. And I think this is very purposeful symbolism. And because craters and things like that. And I also think that the size discrepancy is, I mean, this is just me fucking spitballing, and I don't think it has any bearing on the story, but I think it might just be a cool thing that they did. I'll talk about the size discrepancy and why I think that's important later as well.
Hearing you describe that, Sam, I know instantly where you're going, and I think you're correct.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So Die Hardman says that they're both geniuses. Mama's field is applied physics and Lochna's is theoretical physics. And Mama built the Cupid and Lochna made the software for it. And they were close. And people thought they were like two minds in one body when they worked together. But after the accident, they cut ties. And so after Die Hardman's just like, I don't fucking know what to do. You figure it out. And he hangs up. That's basically what he does, right?
Yeah. No, he's like, women, you deal with it.
Jesus.
I just want to say that this is probably the most anime moment. I think this was the Kojima anime moment. Oh my god,
this whole thing? Yeah, I was just like, oh, give me that fucking Kojima weirdness right in my veins. This was the shit I've been waiting for.
Yeah.
But yeah, so after Die Hardman hangs up with you, you get a mail from, I shit you not, Aaron Hill, who is in charge of Mountain Knot City, and the distribution guy at least, and asks Sam to talk to Mama, and to do this, you have to get back to her lab. And so this is where I started getting fucked, right?
And this is where my fucking odyssey began.
Mm-hmm. So I fast traveled. Well, so I don't think I've heard Zach's entire story, but I'll just listen to my story. We'll let you and Chris go first since you guys are fucking pro gamers over
what?
here.
I didn't say pro gamer.
Schlepping up this mountain.
I literally turned around, went back up the mountain right behind, like the distribution center, in a straight line.
From Mama's lab?
No, to the weather station.
Okay, so the getting back to Mama's lab wasn't the problem. It was getting. We'll talk about it.
Same.
But that's the thing. Is like I crossed over the mountain to get to that point, and I was like, oh, well, I'm here. I just got to go, just adjust a little bit over to the right, and then go down that way, and I'm good to go. And that's how I got back to Mama's lab. And that's the same way I went back.
I went down to the distribution center north, or up to the distribution center north, and I fast traveled to South Knot and then just walked to Mama's lab.
Yeah, that's what I did too.
Yeah. And so that was what fucked me, is what I'm saying, is that like doing this was part one of my fucking woes, right? Get there. So Chris, I don't know, did you have any trouble getting back to Mama's lab?
Like back down the hill? No.
Back down. No. Okay.
No, I actually just cool borders my way down.
Fucking Goldfinger your way down the mountain.
Here I am.
No, I swear I actually pulled that up on Spotify and was listening to it.
Yeah. Pick it up. Getting older all the time. Feeling younger in my mind. I'm not cueing it here. We're gonna get copyright shit. But yeah, so
You can't sing it anymore. We'll get copyright stricken.
We're gonna. It's too perfect. We're gonna get copyright stricken.
It's a parody. It's
so beautiful. Parody. Fucking parody. Fucking WMG. Fucking try to say our video couldn't be published because we used a 10-second clip of "Dreams" by Van Halen 3 weeks ago. So that was cool.
Dope.
Anyway, no, not saying anything about that. Anyway, so we get back down to Mama's lab. You walk up and she's kind of like sleeping on her desk, and here is where we're getting into what Zach oh my god about. He wakes her up and she gives him some new cuffs that allow him to cut the cords of the BTs if he can get close enough, because if you cut their cords, it sends them back to the other side, these cords that they're connected to the other side with. And I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but the cuff looks remarkably like the knife that Iggs used to stab Amelie.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
And also, Sam gives it a look when he sees it. He's just like, So, yeah. But yeah, so Mama kind of is struggling a little bit, and she tells Sam that he needs to test it out, and says that he should test it out by cutting the cord that connects Mama and her baby. And she says that she wants him to set them free. And this is
real
fucking sad. Rough. Yeah, it's very sad. Very heavy. And they're kind of, and she tells the true story about what happened. Sam is like, so all that story you told me wasn't true. And she's like, no, the accident was true, but this isn't just my baby. Lochna fell in love with a member of Bridges and wanted to have a baby. But she had, I think she said she had trouble with her uterus, and Mama had trouble. She was infertile. Her eggs, she didn't have the eggs. I know how anatomy works. And, for various reasons, they couldn't have children on their own. And so what they were going to do was they were trying to figure out how to have a baby. And then the guy dies in an accident, and they're getting very heavy into this like supernatural. They like Mama and Lochna have this like supernatural connection to each other. We can feel each other's emotions and hear each other's thoughts and things like that. And Mama said she felt Lochna like ready to end it all, and said, "What about this? We'll use your eggs, his frozen sperm, and then I'll carry the baby to term." And they were going to do this, and then the attack happened, and that's what severed their bond, because she didn't want to abandon the baby, so she couldn't tell Lochna what happened, and so Lochna assumed that she took the baby and ran.
Booked it,
and yeah. And so she said that she was wrong to not talk to Lochna, and she says this, and I think this is very important. These words are very important. She says, "You have to break some ties to forge others, and you can't be tied to everything." And I think that's very important for Sam.
Yeah,
I think that's gonna come. That's gonna come back a little bit later.
It also means Chris, stop building roads.
Listen,
you can't be tied to the roads. Listen, if we were playing Catan, Chris would be fucking rolling in the roads. He'd get a victory by roads. So I'm not knocking him. But yeah, so after this whole conversation, the game prompts you to press square to cut the ties, and you do. And the baby kind of floats up, and the other BT, I don't know if we talked about this a lot. There is another BT in this room, like reaching out for the baby.
Are we?
Yeah,
are we
it's like it's a woman.
It's a woman, and I think as we get to it, we're going to get to it in a little bit. I think it's a very specific woman.
Yeah.
Because they do some explanations a little bit later when some stuff happens down the line. So this baby floats up to this like woman BT, and the woman like cradles the baby, and they go off to the other side, and Mama collapses, and she's not looking good.
Just like instant, and, like as soon as he cuts the cord, she goes, "I'm sorry," the tears are going, and she basically collapses into his arms. And it was a fucking heart-wrenching moment for me on that one.
Yeah, it was. It's such a rough scene.
Not easy, for sure.
Well, so this part resonated with me for two reasons. A, just because Margaret Corley does a phenomenal job as Mama, but also So the whole like, oh, we'll use his frozen sperm to make, to have the baby and all that, because we had a similar scenario happen to that when I used to work in a hospital, and we had this guy who was an off-duty NYPD officer who got killed in a motorcycle accident, and basically we could not release his body until they finished doing the operation to extract his sperm so his wife could have another kid. So it just like it had that real life correlation. It was just like, oh fuck.
Yeah,
that's heavy.
Yeah, that's rough, and it's heavy. And like the crazy thing about it is, and I have like a whole moratorium on this later when we get to later on in the chapter. But I think that's incredible to me that despite the fact that they never really did a lot with Mama except for like explaining like technical stuff until this chapter. And the fact that this hit so fucking hard, I think is really awesome.
I think it's
like this whole chapter.
I think it's because this chapter was exposition dump done right.
Yeah,
like that.
Yes,
that's how
absolutely.
it felt, because it didn't feel like between chapter 2 and 3 where it was just sort of like, oh, we get it, like let's go already. Like this character was someone who I was invested in learning about, and therefore I wanted to hear everything, which is why this next section fucking irritated the piss out of me.
Right.
Yeah. So you pop Mama on her back, on your back, and you zip her up in the thing, and I don't know about you boys, but having seen the trailers leading up to this video game, I knew what was happening next because I've
oh Lord, yeah.
So this was fucking act number 2 in my saga of despair. I prepared hard for what was about to come next, guns and grenades and everything like that. But I did all the stuff. Not a lot of anything else. You might see where this is going.
Yep.
We walk outside, and of course, Mr. Every Voiceman, Mr. Golden,
He's standing right there, isn't
Mr.
he?
Golden Boy himself. I love how he introduces himself. Like he calls attention to himself. He goes, "Well, shit,
Shit.
And he says, I had a surprise plan and everything. And he is wearing Amelie's Kipu. And so that sucks.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we see that scene that we saw in like the trailers leading up, and he summons his gold-faced butthole dog. And
he looks hungry.
He looks hungry. He says, all you got to do is to make it out alive is not get eaten. And then as you're doing this, Mama tells Sam to run. And I prepped for a fight. I tell you what I did. And then I looked at him, and then I was like, oh shit, I have Mama with me. I better not. And I booked it. I went like immediately right, and I booked it over an overpass, and I ran.
I threw one grenade, which like kind of caught him off guard, and then she was like, Sam, run. I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to fight this thing right now. I'm going. Bye.
Oh, I fought him to the end. Because I had
Really?
the speed skeleton on at that point. So when you're sprinting with that thing and you jump while you're sprinting, it launches you like 30 feet.
Oh geez.
And because it was within the proximity of Mama's lab, I didn't have to worry about battery power or anything like that. So it basically turned into like me being a matador and Butthole Dog being the bull, and I'd fucking bait him with a bunch of grenades, and he'd run at me, and I'd just fucking sprint out of the way. And like I said, I beat him entirely, except for he got one lucky hit on me, and it fucked Mama up to like 66% health or whatever. But then I killed it. I killed it dead. Got a buttload of chiralium crystals from it. Or chiral crystals, whatever.
Yeah.
Everything's fucking chiral in this game.
Yeah, that's the buzzword that he got from NPR.
Oh, oh, man. Are you telling me I could have been Chiral Man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have.
Chiral Man.
Chiral Man.
Chiral Man. Chiral
Just
Man.
kidding. I'm the isolation.
Oh, God.
Not the isolation.
No, we'll yeah, no. So regardless, I probably could have done it, but I was just like, I panicked. I was like, no, bye, and I ran, and so that happened.
Oh, well, actually, so I totally forgot.
No,
I totally forgot that this part was coming here too. So I had prepared for like the long, fucking arduous journey And then this happened, so I immediately ran back inside. Which, if you do that, the dog can't get you. So I detached my fucking floating carriers. I should have laid Mama down, but I didn't for some reason. I went to the terminal. I made myself a bunch of grenades, a bunch of assault rifles, and then I walked out and I went to war.
I would have just camped right there and just
the game is smart enough that if you do that, it'll stalk around the edges, but it won't do so in a way that lets you get it. Because I tried that and it just sort of like disappeared. I'm like, oh shit, I guess I got to do this. I should, in retrospect though, I should have just laid Mama down on the ground inside and went to work.
Yeah, it would have probably made sense. I wasn't thinking about putting her down is the problem.
Same.
No, neither was I.
So after we beat the butthole dog, that's when the Odyssey begins.
After we beat the butthole dog.
Hey, that's to use your guys' terminology.
That is true. That is true. We did call it an eldritch butthole dog.
Eldritch butthole dog.
A Lovecraftian butthole dog.
Ugh.
So it seems like to me, Cole and Chris, I don't know what your experience was. Cole, it seems like, didn't have a lot of trouble with this, right?
No, because like I said, whenever it came down the mountain, a couple things. One, I had set up a while ago a timefall shelter with a charging station right next to it, down at the base of the hill where the weather station was. So what I would do is just walk up from like Mama's lab. A couple of awesome people had already built bridges across all the ravines. So I went over those, hung out my timefall shelter, waited out the timefall, and then walked back up to the weather station. And from the weather station, I had laid like 6 or 7 like ropes down. And each rope's like 30 meters. And so I was like, oh, bet. And I just started grabbing the ropes and just climbing up the mountain. Yeah, so I had no problem.
And Chris, what about you? What was your trip bringing Mama up to Mountain Knot City like?
Well, getting away from a butthole dog was just terrifying. I think my butthole...
So did you run away from it or did you fight it?
I ran away from it because I thought that was what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And running with Mama is not easy.
Sure isn't.
You know, the hike up the mountain with Mama was not easy either for me because I didn't really I wasn't as thorough as I was with the roads and building a path up the mountain. And it was pretty tough in spots, but I did think it was kind of neat how you could talk to Mama on the way up.
Yeah. Well, so she didn't talk a lot for me, and I don't know if there was a command prompt.
Lines.
Yeah.
You can go and take a bath with her in one of the hot spas.
Oh.
And if you put her in the hot bath and you normally how you sing to BB, you can sing to her and she'll sing back to you.
Huh.
So you want to know what that irritated me?
What do they? What does he sing? Is it just?
It's the same song that he sings to BB.
Okay.
So here's what really peeved me about this section. So this is the second live escort mission you do so far in the game, with a character that I actually wanted to hear from, and we get about 2 lines, maybe 3 if you go to the hot spring and sings with her. That's about it. Fucking Japanese throwing down her fucking chiral sand girl couldn't shut the fuck up.
Chiral sand girl. Yeah.
And she just keeps talking and talking and I wanted to walk us right into the tar pit, but no, when I actually have someone who I want to hear from, we get 2 lines. And it's
they can't give you what you want, I think Mom is a little bit different because it's someone that we want to hear from,
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason why she doesn't have a lot of dialogue here is because of something that happens next when you reach your destination.
That makes sense, but still, it stings.
It does sting, yeah. And I think that maybe it makes those next moments all the sharper too.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's something that Kojima I think is really good at, is the gameplay kind of is part of the story and the experience.
Yeah. Can I tell y'all about my Odyssey?
Please do.
Please.
So,
way to use my term. But I'm sure you do, because it's probably very similar to mine.
so my problem was that because I was so focused on the battle with the Eldritch Butthole Dog, I didn't fabricate any like other equipment aside from weapons. And so I didn't have any extra boots. I didn't have any climbing anchors. I didn't have any ladders. I didn't have fucking anything. And so,
oh man,
what I decided to do was plot a direct course east from Mama's Lab, and I just fucking made a straight line from Mama's Lab to Mountain Knot City, and I just went that way. And so, I made it to about to the snow of the mountain, and I was nowhere close to any distribution centers. I didn't want to turn back, and so I just kept fucking going.
As you do.
And it was like fucking walking up vertical inclines. Like I had to find outcroppings just to stop from like tumbling down. And I slid down this fucking mountain, y'all, so many times, despite the fact I was stopping to save my stamina. And I was just, everything was fucking happening. And I was just going up and up and up. And after a certain point, so the skeleton in my battery was almost dead. After a certain point, it was completely depleted. My shoes were broken. And I had exactly one box. You know how you have like 4 or 5 boxes of stamina if you drink the Monster Sign? Yeah. I had one box of stamina because the thing had been blocked off. Because the longer you go without resting, the more of your stamina bar gets blocked
So
off.
what, do you expend your stamina in like 15 seconds?
Basically. So I was trying to hustle up, and I had to stop every like few seconds to not only stop from sliding down the mountain where I could, but to not like pass out. And so I was just having the time of my life. And after a certain point, I ran out of fucking Monster Sign in my canteen. And so I was just really having a great time. And the only thing that, and to kind of like throw it back to what we were just talking about, the one thing that probably could have saved me, and I get it, was Mama talking a little bit more to me.
Sure.
And she didn't. And so I was just feeling really miserable, and I was just very scared because I thought, and y'all apparently didn't have a great time with the mountain at all, but I thought this was like a tone setter for my time in the mountain. And thankfully for me personally, it was not. The only thing that made this better was that the path that I plotted didn't have any BTs on it, because who would be fucking dumb enough to do this? And also there were no ladders made by people, bridges, climbing gears. Nobody had put anything there because, again, who would be fucking dumb enough to go this way? But I made it. I was completely decimated, but I made it.
So now, my turn.
Yes.
It sounds like Sam and I had very similar experiences, but we didn't at the same time. So following killing Higgs's puppy, God, that sounds awful to say it like that.
Dark.
It's Higgs.
How are you going to kill Higgs Monahan's puppy?
Monahan. So I went back and I first I grabbed up all the chiral crystals. Then I went and I grabbed my fucking floating carriers, which I had loaded up with a bunch of blood packs and ladders and ropes in case I needed them. And I set off on my journey. But I didn't go up the mountain like you guys did. No. I retraced my steps, so I went all the way north. Then I went all the way west, and then I went all the way south, and around the ravines and all that. And thinking that Mama would talk to me and help me pass the time, I not wanting to drop her and hurt her any more than she already was, I had the right trigger and left trigger held down, and I just started walking. And I just started walking. And I just kept walking. For 3.5 goddamn hours.
3.5 hours?
3.5 hours, dude.
Real time of your real life?
Okay, it might have been like 3 hours and 27 minutes. That's what my assessment said.
Good Lord.
Oh, yeah.
That's
dude,
a
I
long
listened to a
time.
good quarter of the audiobook I was listening to at the time during this fucking just trial, I'll call it.
That's mental.
Speaking of,
Hey, dude.
you know something that really frustrates me is you can't use Spotify while you play this game.
Can you not?
Like,
No, it doesn't let you. It blocks it.
Yeah.
It's kind of lame.
It does. I think it's intentional because he wants to, like, make you feel alone.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Sure would like to listen to Spotify.
Spotify or Mama or maybe some of these fucking briefings or even some Low Roar. Let me choose some Low Roar to listen to.
Yeah.
Oh.
I would have liked to be able to listen to the briefings on the go, like if they had recorded the briefings and let you like listen to them, because like I remember I can't remember who was talking about this in the Discord, but somebody mentioned just like, hey, I kind of like having them as like a breather in the room.
Oh yeah, I remember. I don't remember
that.
who said that either, but I do remember that popping up.
And I get that, and I respect that, and I appreciate that, but like I'd like the option. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think some of my like favorite things, like when I was playing Metal Gear Solid 5, was literally just sitting in the chopper and like laying down and listening to like briefings in a row. And so you could still do the same thing, but I would like the option to listen to music and briefings on the go. That's just me.
But yeah, man, I tell you, I was, by the time as exhausted as my on-screen avatar was physically, that's how exhausted I was mentally at the end of this, at the end of my Odyssey. 3 hours and 27 minutes, just one.
3 hours and 27 real time.
And there was one point where I started laughing because in my mind, I flashed back to that fucking post-apocalyptic Family Guy episode with Randy Newman just going left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot.
This is now 2 episodes in a row you've referenced Family Guy, Zach.
I've been watching a lot of Family Guy lately. It's not something I'm proud of. It's just something that's the truth.
Yeah. But yeah, we made it, right? Did we all make it? Have we all made it?
Yeah.
We've all made it to Mountain Knot City at this point. And one thing that I do want to say, so she didn't talk a lot, but as you're approaching the city, Mama does mention she asks Sam if she remembers his birth. And she tells him that she remembers being inside the womb, which is fucking nuts, and being able to hear her mom's heartbeat and Lochna's heartbeat when they were in the womb. And in the womb, they were conjoined. And so they separated them with surgery, and the surgery was successful physically, but they were connected emotionally and mentally, and so they could feel each other's emotions, and they could hear each other's they could hear each other's thoughts. And up to the point where like they even shared a beach, they said, because they both have dooms, so they can, you know, do shit with the beach. And so so they Mama said, look, using the Cupids and connecting the chiral network, I think, can make everyone whole in the way that me and Lochna are whole, and it would be about bringing people into the fold as opposed to bringing them in line. And so she says that after the attack, she lost Lochna. And as they're getting closer, she mentions that she can feel Lochna, and she can feel that Lochna is lost. But she thanks Sam for making her whole again. And so this conversation kind of happens, and you get down to Mountain Knot. And as you arrive, Sam like carries Mama and puts her on a cart. These like Bridges guys had brought out, and Lochna comes out to meet her, and they kind of like touch heads, and they kind of connect in their way, and these like gold sparks kind of like start flying around them, and presumably they're telling each other the entire story of what happened, because they can just do that. And Mama's very weak, and she apologizes for keeping Lochna in the dark, but Lochna kind of shushes her and says, you don't have to say anymore. And then Mama says that she has to fix Sam's Cupid, and says that she couldn't save their child, but that Lochna could save the world. And then she takes the Cupid from Sam and gives it to Lochna, and says that she says, I'll love you forever, to Lochna. And she says, Lochna, make the world whole like you made me. And then she fucking dies.
Yeah, it was really, really sad.
She just dies. Like it's really dramatic. Like she's holding up that like little toy that she used to kind of placate the baby, and she's holding it up, and then her arm goes limp, and she drops it on the ground, and that just happened.
Yeah, now imagine that happening after you just spent 3.5 hours carting this lady across the fucking landscape.
It is legit. It was legitimately heartbreaking.
Oh, it was very. It was incredibly sad. It being angry about the time that I spent to get her there was the second thought. The first thought was, holy shit! I think I texted you right after it happened too, Sam. I was like, wait a minute, did they just? And you were like,
well, no, because our conversation when you said holy shit, mama. I thought you were talking about this when you were talking about cutting the cord. And so you get there and you're like, fuck. And I was like, yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Because it was like a kick to the chest with that when, she's all upset when you cut the cord. And then my fucking arduous journey. And then just another fucking, now they're just like, let it happen again. Bam! It's like, I don't want any more. I'm just a broken man physiologically at the end of that.
So, there...
You
talk about details in video games for a second. I remember when Metal Gear Solid 2 came out, people flipped out over the ice cube thing, right?
Yeah.
But if you're watching in this scene when you connect Mountain Knot City to the chiral network and everything like becomes weightless, that little cutscene where they float and Sam does the tear. If you look in the background, you can see that Mama's body starts to float up, and Lochner gently just pushes the body back down on the gurney to hold it in place. And it's
just like a little. It's such a little thing.
Yeah,
and they didn't have to do it either. They could have just filmed it from shot it from a different angle.
Yeah,
right. But they did that on purpose.
Or just
nice
I think a lot of video games probably would have cut corners and just shown the cut scene against some sort of background or something that was whatever was going on in that scene.
Well, and then there's another one of my favorite little details coming up.
Oh yeah, with the eyes.
Yeah, the heterochromia iridium is what it's called.
I thought this, and so I thought also it's super bold. First of all, because this is one of the characters that has been in the advertising. This is one of your named core characters supposedly, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think it's super bold to kill her off, and I think that there was a very high chance that it could not have worked. And I think maybe for some people it probably didn't. I mean, art is subjective, the whole spiel. Yeah. But in my opinion, I think it worked very well. I think it was a play that paid off.
I agree with you, Sam. I think it was a high risk, high reward scenario, and because I think maybe because there had been the time of the emotional setup where we built a relationship with this character, right? It's not superficial,
Yeah.
Same with BB. BB is we love BB, Everyone I've talked to that's played this game, their favorite character is BB. And they actually do care about the well-being, and they feel bad when you upset BB.
You fall and he starts crying.
Yeah.
Speaking of BB being everyone's favorite character, a few days ago, someone on one of the Metal Gear meme pages that I follow posted a thing where it was the quote that from Brooklyn Nine-Nine that Sam did. It was that scene, but with the dog replaces BB. So I sent it to Sam.
And I said, I'm going to take credit for this use of this meme, personally speaking. But that's just me. But yeah, so after this all, she dies, and Lochner, and then it cuts to the next scene, and Lochner comes back and gives Sam the Cupid and says she fixed it. And I'm just like, dead ass while your sister's body is kind of laying there? It's still... All right.
Dope. Thanks.
Yeah, So this is when Lochner tells you, she says, I had no idea we were cut off, and I thought she stole the baby and ran. And then she mentions that someone tweaked the code in the Cupid, and the software version inside the Cupid wasn't her latest version she released. So somebody broke the limiter on purpose, and Lochner says, I think we may have already found the culprit. And I'm presuming this to mean that Mama was the one that fucked with the limiter as a play to reunite her and Lochner, right?
That's what I assumed, yeah.
Okay. I really like this because it's a plan on two levels, right? Because one, you fuck with the limiter as an excuse to fix the limiter to go to Mountain Knot. And Lochna's like, okay, I'll connect, and then they can connect that way. If it doesn't work, you know what you have to do, and it's an engineered situation regardless. So I guess it's a good plan.
Yeah.
And because the eye thing has already happened at this point, right?
Yes.
No, not yet.
Wait, has it?
Not yet. No, it happens in just a little bit. Once it happens, because she gives him the Cupid, he hasn't connected the network yet. So it happens after he connects the network. Yeah, and so Lochna's like, so after the accident, her Ka, which is we have a Ha and the Ka. The Ka is the spirit, the Ha is the body. Her Ka passed over, but the baby being linked to her body kept her body here, her Ha, in the world. So she straight up died in this accident, but the baby was keeping her
like tethered
here, and so. Yeah, and so that's what I think that second BT was Mama's Ka trying to get the baby and go to the other side.
Yeah, that's what I thought too, and like why the time fall wasn't affecting her, because you can't age something that's dead.
Look at Chris looking fucking 6 layers deep.
Look at that beefy 5-layer burrito Chris is digging into.
This Mr. 8 out of 10 just went up to 8.5 out of
10. Your booby's got some smarts.
He's got some smarts on him. So, God. And so that was the other reason why she never connected the cufflink, because the cufflink tracks vitals, and she kept it loose so that nobody could see her vitals.
I like that detail. I thought that was neat.
I did too.
Yeah.
And so that ties back into Sam being like, "You're kind of cold, ain't you?" Because she's dead, technically. But yeah, so after this, Sam links up Mountain Knot City, and after this happens, you can hear Mama's voice, and she is talking to Lochna from the beyond, basically. And she says that they're whole again, and this like kind of like ghostly version of Mama's Odenkirk like appears on Lochna's shoulder. And they kind of talk together about how they're one like they were before. And then Lochna kind of hugs her face, and this is what Zach is talking about. She has, when she does this, she closes her eyes and opens them again, and she has one blue eye and one green eye to signify the two of them are now one being.
Which, when that happened, I was like, oh!
Yeah.
Just such a cool little detail.
Yeah, it's very cool. And so this is where the back half of my like weird like I wonder if they did it because of this. And Zach, you tell me if we thought the same thing. I think the fact that the Lochna crater is bigger than the Malingan crater is to symbolize that Lochna is the vessel for the two of them.
That's exactly, yeah. As soon as you said that, I was like, "Yep, that's where it's going."
Yeah, so that's what I think that was, and it's not like, again, it doesn't have like any bearing on the story, but I thought it was like a cool touch, if I'm correct about it. But
I think you're right.
Well, it sounds to me like it's correct, which, so I mean, just kudos to like that symbolism right there.
Yeah,
as opposed to fucking hands and ties and knots and strands and fucking ropes and come here, I'm gonna hold you down and fucking whisper this in your ear for another 15 minutes.
And you know what I find actually very interesting about it too is that like we did kind of talk about how like the symbolism is like it's less symbolism, more like I'm gonna smack you in the face and tell you about this. I think it's interesting that the best example of like subtle symbolism so far has been attached to the most Kojima ass shit that Kojima ever Kojima'd, right? Like, I think that's pretty funny. Personally.
How much Kojima could Kojima if Kojima could Kojima?
Oh.
I think I just broke Sam.
So after this, you get a call from Die Hardman, and he says that they've been studying the data from the Supercell incident, and from what they can tell, Sam was on a battlefield in World War I, and thinks he may have been like spirited away to another dimension or some kind of beach, and that they were going to keep digging into it. And so from here, we're getting into the territory of episode 6, Dead Man.
But I'll keep coming.
It's my least favorite episode.
Oh yeah, because this is where I finally got my introduction to the mountain.
The true introduction. So up front, I'm going to say this, and I think for the most part we can all agree on this, is that this episode, whether or not we had trouble or did disliked or liked it, whatever, this episode is pure padding for the sake of being padding.
Sure is.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely filler.
And there's only two things I remember from it, and one was a spectacular spill I took, and the other was the doctor, that one-timed mission. And I'll tell you guys about both later.
Cool. What I will say about this area is that all of the preppers, even the fucking weird one at the top of the mountain, all of the preppers here, all pretty nice people.
They're great.
Compared to like the elder and the fucking junk dealer and all those folks, those assholes down there, all the people up on the mountain are pretty nice.
Yeah.
The mountain folk are nice.
Some of them are insane.
And I'm pleased about that. So, yeah.
But everything else about where they live is fucking terrible.
Awful. Terrible.
So basically this padding is I'll just call it, what is this padding? It's basically 3.5 hours to basically give Deadman some background, which he needed, but like it's something you could have done throughout the story thus far. But it's basically three or so hours to, depending on how you're playing. If you're just booking, it's probably like 2.5 or 3 hours long. To make Deadman warm up to BBs as he goes, because every time. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, and also to fucking neuter you because you don't have BB through this entire section. So, good luck running across BTs, which, oh, by the way, I just remembered a third memory from Chapter 3, which involved BTs.
I kind of feel like the reason why we had this episode was so that we could give Deadman an identity that's separate from Bridges. Because up until this point, he, along with some other characters, has just been like kind of one-dimensional to us in this fact that like he is a member of Bridges and he talks through it to us and gives us information about the game.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with that. I think all of the character chapters so far, up to this point, have been that, right? Like, so it's like this is a chapter where we get to give you pathos, you know what I mean? And so and for what it's worth, I think that what they did with Deadman in this chapter was good. I think that they gave him that pathos, and now I am more interested in him. I think they could have done it better and more efficiently.
Oh yeah.
Execution was most definitely flawed in this part.
Yeah. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about what happens. The greatest shower scene in history of media, maybe? Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. First, it was like Dallas for the longest time. And it's now this.
Yeah, now it's Death Stranding. So after this all happens, it forces you to rest. And so when it forces you to rest, you know some shit's going down. And so when you rest, you wake up and you can do your normal room shit. But if you look across the room, you'll notice that somebody is missing from the little pod there, and it's BB. BB's not there.
Fun.
And so if you go to check on him, it activates a scene, and Sam is like freaking out, and he goes, Lou? He calls BB Lou.
Yeah.
Oh.
Fun,
Gave BB a
fun
name.
little weird anecdote about this part. I didn't actually notice that BB was gone because I noticed that I had more models on the back wall. And so I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna check that out. And then there was a new thing for me that was like, view dreams and nightmares. And I was like, oh shit, what? And I click it, and it's like, can't view dreams and nightmares because BB is not here. I was like, what the fuck do you mean BB's not here? I turned, I was like, oh god, BB's not here.
Oh, you see, first off, with the whole figure thing, I'm not a fan of that whole anime, like Norman Reedus getting up and getting real close to the camera and then pointing behind him. I just think
it is a weird fourth wall break.
All of the motions that he does in the safe room when he's like telling you like, I want to go here or go over here, like, I hate to use this analogy again, but it seems like he seems like an enthusiastic 8-year-old boy. I'm doubling down at me.
But I didn't notice. I only noticed because I was like, all right, let's continue on the mission. Why can't I leave?
Yeah.
Where's the door prompt? okay, what am I missing? And then that's when I saw that BB, because I just did a quick scan, and what it'll do is if you don't notice it right away, it'll put an exclamation point next to whatever prompt you need to look at.
Yeah, I noticed it right away because like whenever I wake up, the first thing I do is check on BB. And some because some of the, well, because first of all, I love BB, even though he's ugly as shit, but he's a beautiful boy. Still going there. I'm never gonna let it go. BB's ugly, and that's fine. But he's a fucking little BB infant, so it's fine.
He's not fully baked yet.
He's not fully baked. That's the problem. We're about to find out. The problem is he's not fully baked, but he's getting baked, and we don't want that to happen. But yeah, I know. So I go check on him, and I get all these animations. Have you guys gotten any like really like fun animations, like the nightmare sequences when you mess with BB?
No, I haven't actually. I haven't touched any of those yet.
Yeah.
So there are a couple. There was one I think in the TGS trailer where if you mess with him, there'll be a cutscene where he'll just like start slamming his head against the pod, and he'll bust out of the pod and just like freak out, and Sam will wake up, and he's having a nightmare. I got one when I went to go mess with BB or check on BB. I did the thing, and it started a cutscene. BB was facing away from Sam, like facing into the pod, and I thought it was going to be the one from TGS, but BB spins around, and his head is Deadman's.
Oh my god!
What the fuck?
And it scared the shit out of me. And then Sam wakes up. I was just like, "Fucking fuck this."
That's funny.
So,
that's a Hank Hill whoa moment right there.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. So y'all should check on BB more often. It's pretty great. But yeah.
If I'm putting all my cards on the table, I haven't touched the game since last Monday.
Oh, I haven't touched it since last
because I played all the way through episode 8 so far, and I was like, I'm too far ahead already. Like, let me let the show catch up, and then I'll start playing it again.
He's back. So yeah. So you rest. You wake up. BB's gone. Sam calls him Lou, and then Deadman walks in, and he says, "Lou, who's that? Anyway, I have your BB." And Deadman says that that Fragile warped him there, and that BB has a serious issue, and then the title card flashes on the screen. And he kind of explains what's going on with BB. That the way that BBs work is that they're tethered to the middle line. They have no affinity to the world of the living or the dead. They're right in the middle. And because of Sam, BB has been leaning more towards the world of the living and towards Sam. And Sam is like, "Hey, we're partners." And Deadman tells him for the umpteenth time that they're just tools. And Deadman says that BB is turning into a, quote, human being, as if that's not what it was in the first place.
That was one of the more jarring parts of this whole game for me. Is just like, I get that there is a disconnect, that these things are literally being used as tools, but he's like, no, you're not. He's like, you're not understanding. Like, this thing is turning into a kid. Like, he's.
Yeah, I feel kind of gross, honestly.
Yeah, it's really disheartening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also was just thinking, like, can you stop shaking BB the whole time?
Yeah.
I was
oh
saying,
my god. I wanted to
dudes
fucking
are fucking
deck
rough
him
with this. And then like Sam grabs him away, and then Deadman grabs him, like slams him on the table, and then Sam picks him up and slams him backwards the other way. I'm like, yo,
stop!
It's a fucking baby.
Yeah, especially Sam, who like thinks of it as a real baby as well, right?
Yeah,
like,
but he's
or
still
so
just
we
fucking
think.
slam it around like it's a monster song.
And when did we start calling BB Lou? Like, when did that happen?
it was this moment.
Yeah,
when he realizes BB is gone, he calls the BB Lou, and that's the first time you hear him call Lou.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's an interesting, because I feel like there's been some dialogue where he has called the BB Lou if you're playing through the game, because I seem to remember hearing that when I was in the hot springs.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
I don't recall hearing it before this, but you could be right. I'm not sure. But yeah, so Deadman says, like, look, it's gaining weight, and its brain activity is increasing, and it's retaining memories. And Sam's like, I don't see that as a problem.
Yeah. Like,
and Deadman says, look, this might be fine potentially, but like, if we try to even remove it from the pod, there's a 70% chance of catastrophic failure. But regardless, it's going to cease functioning in a couple of days if we don't do something about it. So Deadman says he can reset BB. And what he would have to do is kind of like cut some ties and relink it to the other side, but that maybe his memories will be wiped away. And Deadman says it's just like a game. Select retry and start again. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's just one of those fucking Kojima, like, ho, I'm breaking the fourth wall because my game's fucking kooky.
Kooky bananas.
But I interpreted this surgery and this resetting ties thing that he was talking about as basically he's going to give BB a partial lobotomy.
Yeah.
Like
that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which just fucking lobotomies in general are just scary as fuck, and to think of that being done to a baby, technically not even still like a fetus, like come on, man.
Yeah, it's wild. But after he says this, he yanks. They're like tug of warring over BB at this point, and Deadman yanks BB away, and he kind of like falls into a chair, and BB pops a leak and basically pisses on him, which I thought was funny. And Deadman goes, "This is why I hate these things." And he goes to use Sam's shower, but before he does this, he disconnects his cuff and Sam's cuff, takes them off, puts them on the table, and then kind of like very much indicates that he wants you to join him in the shower, where they don't record things, as we determined earlier.
Do they though?
And so,
because
I don't know. I mean, that's what Deadman says. So earlier in the game, when
he's like,
Sam is showering, he says,
"Go ahead."
No, he says, "Is anything private anymore?" And Deadman's like, "No, except for the shower and the bathroom." So presumably
this scene gave me the
but he says that to you while you're in the shower.
Yeah. Earlier he does, yeah. Which is I guess that's true, but like recording, maybe, I don't know. Interesting. Yeah, you're right. He does say that to you while you're in the shower.
Well, I think the implication is that there's an intercom system like set up, and it's kind of like a, hey, just letting you know this is what's happening. But like as far as like recording and active recording and whatnot, that's not available while they're in the shower.
Mm-hmm. And then if you think about it too, Deadman, like he about partway through this conversation, he turns the shower on to help muffle the sound. So maybe like,
and also
so it won't go up through the intercom.
At the same time, at all times, Sam has his cuff on. Even when he's in the shower, like, just, like not, like in that first scene, he still has his cuff on, and he's like, "Is anything private?" He's like, "Yep, just the shower." But in the scene, neither one of them are cuffed.
That's true.
It's terrible. But I was half expected for Deadman to be like, "Okay, now take your clothes off. They've got a tracker of them too." I was just like, I'm turning this off if it goes any weirder.
It did get weirder though.
Not to that level, but it definitely and I was texting Sam throughout it. I think that's when I came up with the term racid phobia.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. The shower is not very big. And so, and Deadman, sorry, Guillermo, is. Deadman's a Weidman. And I say this as a Weidman myself. Deadman's a Weidman. And so there's two people in this very small shower. And even without razzle-frazzle-phobia, this is a lot to deal with.
It's claustrophobic.
Yeah.
It's very claustrophobic. And they kind of do most of the conversation in first person too. And Deadman's just very close to the camera when it's in those moments. And so they're doing their best to not only make Sam uncomfortable, but make you uncomfortable. And it works.
It really works.
Yeah. So Deadman turns on the shower and he's uncomfortably close. And he says he's been digging into the BB experiments. And he says officially they were shut down after the Manhattan incident, but they were actually continued in secret under Bridget's orders. And Bridget's goal was she wanted to incorporate BBs into the chiral network to facilitate travel to the beach. But her plans never came to fruition, and now the tech fell into terrorist hands after somehow. And Sam kind of asks what part Die Hardman has played, and Deadman says he has no idea. He says he doesn't know how long he's been working for Bridget. He doesn't know what his real name is. He doesn't know what his face looks like. And Sam's like, when I met him, he was already wearing the mask, and said it was because something about a burn on his face. And Deadman's like, well, look, he's the only one with clearance to those old files, but if we keep connecting the chiral network, we can compile fragmented public domain data and kind of piece together more of it. And then he says, be careful out there, they're watching. And he steps out of the shower, and graciously ends this whole situation. And then you get the task that you have to link up preppers to strengthen the chiral network and help heal BB faster. And you also get a call saying that Lochna is now your support person in place of Mama, so you don't lose Margaret Qualley after all.
Lordy, thank Lordy.
The one thing that I really did actually like about this section, despite the fact that, yes, it's padding and yes, it sucks they took BB away, I think it kind of adds to, like, your relationship with BB, even though he's not there, because, like, the things that Sam mutters are things that's, like, not the same without you, kid, and he like talks to BB and realizes that he's not there the entire time.
I did like that touch. Yeah. I can agree with that.
Yeah.
How you doing, kid?
Yeah.
Oh wait.
But maybe make it like 30 minutes instead of 3.5 hours.
So this whole like dialogue between Deadman and Sam, I think solidified me further in a couple of theories that I talked about in the last episode. And one was that Sam is a BB, and specifically that he is like Maddie is his daddy, and like I think that we're seeing Sam's memories, not the BB's memories, because the whole umbilical thing and the fact that like they're talking about how this BB is different because it can like connect to a repatriate and most of them can't.
Well, so can I add something to that really quickly? Is like, so they've gotten into fucking time shenanigans. Do you think that maybe Sam's BB, this BB-28, is just Sam?
It could be, yeah. I think it could.
And that's why they're compatible?
I think it could be the BB is Sam, and that Sam also used to be a BB, and Mads is daddy. I mean, Mads is daddy anyway.
Daddy Mads.
But,
of course.
I think also that Bridges are just, they are not good guys. They are scum. They are bad people.
Bridges there's lots of dark shit going on back there.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
That they're making like, first of all, how readily available is a child that's born of a still mother? Because they kind of sound like, oh, these are like indispensable tools. Mm-hmm. But that's a pretty rare thing, I think, in medicine.
So you wonder if like maybe they're inducing this stuff in the mother so that
that's a fucking gross implication.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate that so much.
I mean, if not but also that image. Like they are just taking babies and putting them in jars and keeping them from growing because they need like that bridge.
Oh God, I feel like I need to take a shower after hearing that. Fuck me. That
so
sucks.
to go in a less icky direction, did anyone notice it's different kind of icky. Did anyone notice the peculiar scar running across Deadman's forehead and down the sides of his face?
Oh yeah, he's got like straight up Frankenstein scars.
Yeah.
Funny that you use that exact terminology.
Oh, that's funny. I twirl my mustache at you, sir. So now we have to connect all these preppers. We have to brave the mountains. And we won't dwell a whole lot on these ones, I think.
So my most memorable parts of this was one spectacular spill that I took where I had fucking
that spectacular spill presented by Metal Gear Mondays.
It's gonna pop it up to hey. So I was doing one of the fucking deliveries and I had my backpack loaded up a decent amount with stuff. I had my 2 floating carriers just loaded for bear. Like these things had like close to 200 kilograms each, just extra supplies that I thought I would need. And I miscalculated a jump.
Oof.
And have you ever dropped a multi-hundred or 1,000 piece Lego set on floor?
No.
And if you've ever seen that, you know how all the Legos kind of explode everywhere?
Yeah.
That was all of my cargo.
Oh, God.
A veritable shit ton of cargo blasting and then tumbling down the side of the mountain.
I'm so sorry for your
loss.
I just...
Yeah.
Oh, it was big oof. So I just fucking reloaded after that.
Yikes, dude. That is the most disheartening thing, because there are 2 sections of this mountain. I didn't have a lot of trouble. So for the most part, I actually kind of like found the mountain calming in a way. And I know that might sound ridiculous.
I'm sorry. What was that again?
Once I learned the...
I said, if you clear the wax out of your ears, you motherfuckers, I said I found the mountain to be mostly calming. There were 2 sections that fucked with me after getting Mama up the mountain, but I found the mountain to be fucking calming. Is there anything wrong with that? No.
I can actually agree with you, Sam, on that, because once I found the main corridor of BTs and just figured out how to avoid it, it was pretty calm. Which that was the other memory that I had was because you don't have BB, you don't have your Odakirk working for you, so it's just, and this is where I managed to cut one BT's cord because I was just stalking, and then I got a fucking on-screen prompt, so I did it, and then a baby BT went, and fucking disappeared, scared the fuck out of me. But then I'm going, I'm like, I'm good, and all of a sudden here, thump, thump.
Oh, God.
Thump, thump, and I look and I see the fucking spikes start toward me. So I'm like, oh shit! So I took off in a sprint, got fucking caught, dragged over 2 of the butthole catchers.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Just about to talk about that. I was like, I got dragged down and had to deal with 2 of those sons of bitches.
Surprisingly, though, my cargo was left pretty unscathed, especially the stuff I had in the floating containers. So I just fucking ran. I had my sprinter's legs on still. So I just fucking Spider-Man leapt my way back over there, connected it, and then Spider-Man leapt out of danger.
So here's what I love about the sections with the catchers, right? So in this little section, so that's what I was doing, is I was kind of like stalking slowly and like cutting cords when I would see them. And then what would happen was I would get a certain distance, and then I would get spotted again, and I would start to get dragged, and then I would fight my way out. I would throw hematic grenades. I would get rid of the BTs. I would pick up all my stuff. I would go forward. It would happen again. And that happened maybe like 5 times, and I was over it, right? And so the 6th time I was trying, and I finally get dragged down. And so I'm like, fuck it. And I'm ready to fight this butthole dog. And then I kind of turn, I see the second one. I'm just like, fuck this. And I book it and I escape. And my favorite thing, and I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but after you escape, the whole area is cleared of BTs, at least temporarily.
I did notice that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So after that, it's easy sailing. And I had no more problems with BTs at all after that like travesty. Like, I never ran into another BT for the rest of the time I was on the mountain.
I did my civic duty to drop a BT sign, and then I never went down that corridor again.
But yeah, so that was my big harrowing experience before the fucking trek to the paranormalist. So we have a couple of preppers up here. You have to deliver the high bounce spring to the roboticist. She's a nice lady. She gives you access to the all-terrain skeleton, which is my new bay, and that helped me a lot.
It's so useful.
I fell in love with that thing into this section.
Yeah, it makes traversing this mountain so much easier.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine like the rest of it too, because I haven't left the mountain. So like Zach said, I haven't touched it in about a week or so, which is actually kind of refreshing to me. And because I feel like we were talking about how like you should play it at your own pace, and like not playing it has been like kind of nice.
Absolutely.
So I haven't left the mountain yet, so I don't know how helpful it is. I imagine it's probably pretty helpful like everywhere else too, right?
Yeah, so
just to cover my bases, I keep I wear that right now, and I've got a speed skeleton on my my floating platform.
Yeah, those parts in like chapter 3, like where it's very flat and kind of barren and rocky, like where the film director and all that.
The speed skeleton.
Yeah, with the speed skeleton, it's all right, but with the all-terrain one, it's like walking on flat ground.
Really?
Yeah, it just makes it super easy to get through those areas.
That's really cool. Then you have to bring some medicine to the doctor. He's also a nice guy. Really wants to help people. He's an old guy, not an okay boomer, just a normal boomer. And he upgrades your canteen for you. So that's pretty cool.
More monster,
son.
More monster.
He gives you he upgrades you and gets you like essentially like the crazy like 32-ounce size that you see at the gas station.
Oh, so Zach's sipping on that monster right now.
Oh, did it pick it up? Perfect.
Oh, 100% picked it up. Jesus, the fans are gonna love that.
We covered plenty of other gross shit this episode. Why not just add to it?
Yeah, why not? You deliver deliver medicine to the doctor. You deliver antibiotics to the mountaineer. Nice guy. Really doesn't want his pregnant wife to die, which, like, I get it. And then this is that timed mission, that 60-minute timed mission, where you have to go to the doctor. You have 60 minutes to get from the mountaineer to the doctor, and then back up to the mountaineer with this medical device. And
this was the first one that actually made me like, oh shit, am I going to make it in time?
Really?
I mean, I ended up making it with like 25 minutes to spare.
Okay.
But because like where I was pretty underdeveloped with like ladders and ropes and shit like that. So it was sort of like getting there was getting back to the doctor was probably the most stressful part. But then after that, like I already knew where to go because I laid down a bunch of ladders and ropes and all that. So I was just retracing my steps at that point. But I think it took me about 20 minutes to get to the doctor.
Oh, wow. Because see, what I did was when I left, because you have to go back to the mountain to get the antibiotics to deliver to the mountaineer. And so my path went past the doctor anyway to get up to the mountaineer. And so when I did that, I just kind of like developed a path that I took, and it skirted around some like BT territory, and somebody had like built a bridge and another ladder somewhere else. So I just kind of like went around that way. There was a climbing anchor in a perfect spot. So it was like the perfect path to get directly up and back down. So yeah, I didn't have too much trouble with it. What about you, Cole and Chris?
I had like literally no trouble with this one because once again, I I had been using essentially the same route to get to the mountaineer, and someone had set up a really awesome, just quick set of like ropes and ladders to get up just essentially a sheer cliff face. And then I decided to do my fair share and dropped like 4 ropes all the way up one cliff face that went to the mountaineer, and then someone else had already dropped a rope on the other side. So I literally just did one big line. It went through BT territory at one point, but as long as you stuck to one side, you were good. Like the BTs didn't mess with you. So yeah, I think I finished this mission in like 24 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, what about you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I had a fairly similar experience. I just kind of like, man, I just hoofed it up that mountain. And at this point, I was just like, why in the hell did they pick this area to have a filler episode on? Because they had not made it back in chapter 3 where I had all these roads and I was just driving a truck up and down the highway, you know? Yeah.
Because they hate you, Chris.
Yeah.
Sam, you and Alessio definitely fucking called it. We're like, this is like definitely the gut check and the possible breaking point for this game. Which, I mean, I didn't feel that way as much. But I think I was also just so fucking desensitized after my long walk with Mama.
That this was like nothing.
Yeah, I was just like, whatever. I can handle a fall at this point. But I could see this for other people just being infuriating.
I don't know. So I think I don't think it's infuriating in like a traditional sense, because like it did kind of suck trudging around a little bit. But if you really think about it, like the gameplay of it wasn't really that difficult. I think the part that like is frustrating about it is that it was complete filler for the sake of it.
Exactly.
That was the only thing I didn't like about it. Like the actual mountain itself, I greatly enjoyed, especially sort of like oh, well, I discovered this path. Let me lay down a ladder and a little sign, keep on keeping on for the next person that comes by.
Yeah, it's not that anything was just super like crazy difficult or that there was any kind of just really terrible part of the story. Is that A, is just that there wasn't really any story here, and B, it's just tedious. I ran the same 3 routes the entire time of this episode.
Yeah, that's what a lot of this was just trial and error of, can I go up this slope? Yes, no, okay, let's I'll remember this for next time.
A lot of that.
Yeah, it's just I mean, I hated it.
It, like, to me, this whole chapter was like not so painful, but the parts where it was timed, God, that was the worst. Because like, if you're able to take your time going up and down, like plotting a path in the map, but when you have such a tight timeline, which I think, like Zach said, this was the first time I ever felt like I was not going to make it in time to do a delivery.
So
really, with an hour?
I don't think it was. I think it was like 40 minutes.
It was 60 minutes, and I promise you
Yeah,
that.
it was 60 minutes for sure.
Okay, I'm misremembering it then. Or maybe that was one of the first pizza ones.
I think one of the first pizza ones was 45 minutes. Like, this one was 60 because I watched some like videos just to like refresh before we recorded, and it popped up. It was 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is also the section where I discovered that your floating carriers, if you go off at a weird angle or whatever, they will detach from you.
Oh yeah.
And that happened. There's probably about 4 or 5 fully loaded floating carriers with like ladders and shit that are just stuck on that mountain in like different little crevices and shit like that. That like they broke off of me as I was going on a rope, and they just fell at like the perfect angle to not completely explode. But they're at a way, like, because I was trying to like Metal Gear Solid 1 like sideways rappel to get to them, and it doesn't work like that. So I lost more than my fair share of cargo, well, of non-essential cargo up on that mountain.
But yeah, so this guy, you bring the device to the Mountaineer and everything's great, and he connects to the UCA and he's very happy. He gives you the fucking power gloves.
Oh yeah, Nintendo Power Gloves.
Fuck yeah, Nintendo Power Gloves.
Bringing it back.
It's so bad.
What do you like? What do you mean?
It's so bad, it's good.
That's the thing from the wizard.
Oh, the fucking
the
wizard.
Power Glove.
God damn, yeah.
It's so bad.
It is a super useful like tool to have, especially in the mountains, because it lets you like slow down your like, if you slip, it slows you down like really fast. But yeah, it's a pretty cool tool. So
also helps,
and it lets you climb up
climbing
ropes
speed
faster
there
too. You what?
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah,
That's
it helps
cool.
it helps your climbing speed. If you're
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And I noticed that because I took the path and I climbed a rope to get back to a certain point, and it was great. But yeah, so after you deliver the device, he's very happy, and then you have to take the photograph to the photographer, and you have to go all the way back down to the marshlands. You give her the picture, and she's really concerned about her dad's camera. She says that she dropped it when she was running away from terrorists, and you have to go to this nearby terrorist camp to go collect the camera. I didn't have a whole lot of trouble with this. How did you guys do?
Oh, this was easy as hell.
Okay.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Oh no.
I rode in with a bike. As soon as I got spotted and they disabled my bike, I had the speed skeleton on. So I just took off at a sprint, launched myself probably two bounds to get to the area where the camera was. I had my non-lethal assault rifle equipped, so I just lit them up, grabbed the freaking camera, and just bunny hopped my way out of there, and I was good to go.
I actually really like my story because I didn't bike in. I like went around the edge up a cliff, reverse pinged the tracking ping, went to the side of the main compound, and the guy with the camera walked out. He was by himself. I bullied him, walked down, kicked him so he knocked out, picked up the camera, and then I went back up the cliff, but then somebody saw me on the cliff. I booked it, and I made it out, but there was somebody in a truck, and they saw me, so they kept following me. I ran past their territory. They kept on coming after me. Ran across a bridge, and then they overshot the bridge with their goofy ass truck and ran it into the river next to the bridge and got stuck. So they started getting out of the truck, and I just picked them off with my non-lethal assault rifle and then delivered the camera.
So you had a guy who was carrying the camera that you had to get it off of?
Yeah, I pinged the area to scan, and Die Hardman was like, "Oh, it seems like somebody's carrying it on them."
Same.
Oh, because mine was just laying on the ground in the middle of that tent.
Really? Huh.
So I just ran in, scooped it up, threw it on my back, and that goofy, like, fast animation that he does, it just ran out.
Treasure goblin.
I did this mission twice.
Really? What happened to you?
So the first time, okay, so all of this happened while the four of us were on a FaceTime.
I remember
right,
you.
That's right.
I also remember getting a text from you about it at one point.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, first of all, I would like to say, no, I don't care about this woman's photos at all, or her camera at all.
It's the secret to the Death Stranding.
I doubt it. I highly doubt it. Otherwise, she'd have a name like Picture Woman, or like I don't know, like Polaroid, something to that effect. But she doesn't. She's photographer, so she doesn't matter. So I also tried to reverse ping these guys because I got relatively good at it. I wasn't that good this time, right? So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna kind of skirt around in the tall grass, just wait. And then I thought I was being smart. I did that, and then someone spotted me. Then I ran around a rock and just waited there for a second, and then they brought the truck up, and so I threw a stun grenade, got 3 of them with the stun grenade. I was like, hell yeah. Then one of them hit me in the back with the stupid fucking javelins. So then I stole the truck, and then I was, at this point, angry, and that's never a good sign. And I drove into the dude with the camera. And when you do that, it destroys it.
God damn it.
So I got my first game over in this moment.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure around this point, which was almost 4 hours ago to the minute, actually, we get a text from Cole in our group chat, which is Daddy Mad's Rad Lads, that says, fuck you and dumbass deadass dad and his stupid camera.
Mm-hmm.
And
he was not pleased.
And I meant to say your in there. I was just really, really angry in the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
and then we started getting into fights about being narcs and shit like that.
Yeah, that's what we usually do.
Yeah.
Because Cole is a fucking narc.
I hate Zach James.
Zach's a fucking
life.
fed.
I'm not a fed. Don't say that.
I'm so kidding.
Oh my god. Did you have any trouble here with this one, Chris?
No, I didn't have any issues really.
It's just me.
So like my go-to trick for mules is I like bait them into chasing me, and I kind of go across a body of water, like a river somewhere. So I like got them to chase me back to the river, and they'll kind of like pace back and forth on one side and like come at you one by one while they like stand and like throw javelins or shoot at you. So yeah. I just would like bait them over and CQC them. I don't use a ton of weapons with the mules or the terrorists. I just do hand-to-hand combat most of the time because it's so satisfying. Like the slowdown when like your fist comes on the back of their head. It's hilarious to me.
Oh, you see, before I started using the assault rifle, the non-lethal assault rifle, I should say, I would do it where I'd get in all the sort of like line up, and I'd be like that crazy guy. I'd just be sitting there with the strand ready, like being like, come on, you want some? Like, just waiting for them to charge me. And then I'd take them out one by one.
Pick them off. But yeah, so after you get this camera out of here, Heartman chimes in, which like I'm not understanding how Heartman's able, if he's not connected to the network, I'm not understanding how he's able to like do all of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
It felt like just something that Kojima was kind of playing fast and loose with.
Maybe. But yeah, he pops up and chimes in. He's like, "Look, these cave drawings on these pictures are like 30,000 years old, and I think they were painted by Neanderthals traveling across the area. And there are pictures of dolphins, but they were too far from the coast. And I think that it was actually of BTs, meaning that the Death Stranding has happened before, and that the artists were trying to illustrate their own extinction or something to that effect."
Has anyone else encountered a dolphin catcher yet?
Nope. My first non-story one was a dolphin catcher.
Okay, yeah, same.
Yeah. So yeah. It sucked. Anyway.
So does that mean dolphins are sentient or
they're aliens? So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Yeah. I mean that's what I got from this. Like
So the dooms, like the doom signs, like at the beginning of the game. One of them, which is it's what I am apparently. Let me see, not signs of doomsday. Signs of dooms.
I know cancer is one of them.
Yeah, and there's like Cetus and Gigas, I think.
Gigas.
Cetus.
What the hell is Gigas?
We talked about this last week where we there were just like 4 of them. We were just like, what the fuck is this shit? I've never heard of this in my life.
Okay,
type head ass.
Cancer Pisces, so Pisces fish. Cancer's a crab, right?
Yep.
So there's a ton
Oh,
of
you think
those.
these are the type of BTs?
Yeah.
So Cancer is a crab. What is Cetus?
I don't know. Delphinus is a dolphin.
Yeah.
And then there's Cetus and Gigas.
Cetus is a sea monster. We know there's one of those. Gigas, what is Gigas? Is Gigas... Oh, man. What have we done? What have we
Where the hell you guys
done?
see? I'm looking at like a bunch of different astrology things, and I'm not seeing Zetus and Gigas and all that.
I don't know why they use these things, but they're like, I don't know. They're probably like constellations or stuff like that.
I think they are. But apparently the only reason that Gigas is in there, I'm saying, is that like Normaritas is a Gigas.
Well, Gigas are giants. So remember that big tall boy?
So there you go. I'm thinking like those BTs are all kind of like I don't know, like those. There's a connection there. There's something.
That is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. Anyway, so we are now moving along here. After you get that call from Heartman, you kind of leave, and Lochner calls you, and tells you that they're picking up another supercell. It's on its way. She can't see it, but it's moving this way, and that's not great. But yeah, so after you get this call, Deadman says that you need one more delivery, and he promises it's it, and so you get a mission from just one more job and then I'm out. You get one more mission from the Mountaineer to deliver these rocks to a very weird lady, the spiritualist, at basically the peak of the fucking mountain.
Ooh, I didn't like any bit of this.
No,
we got to witness this part live.
I didn't like.
Yeah, we did.
Part of
he like,
this.
didn't you pitch your didn't you pitch your controller and walk away?
He almost did. He was like half a second away from releasing.
Yeah, I was really really close.
Yeah,
because
he prepared, but he didn't release.
Oh, I prepared for sure. Well, like, because the only way to do this part, to me, I'm realizing is, if you were one of these people that doesn't map out your like routes. First of all, what's wrong with you? Second of all, you are going to have the worst time because you absolutely have to map out your route pretty much perfectly. Because
perfectly, yeah. Because even if you do, it's still trouble because you can't see shit.
Yeah, whiteout.
Because there's a snowstorm.
Yeah. Oh, and also, are you also confused about what a whiteout is as much as I am? Someone who like barely sees, I don't know, Chris, how much like snowfall do we get here annually?
Well, I moved to Boston, remember? So
oh yeah. So for someone who like annually sees like, I don't know, at the very most 2 inches of snow, I have no idea what a whiteout is. And then halfway through it, you get an email from some dude like, hey, by the way, there's gonna be whiteouts. I'm like, oh, thanks for the heads
What's
up.
a whiteout?
Really do appreciate
I
it.
wish you would have told me that before.
I know Chris and I have definitely experienced whiteouts. I don't know.
Oh, I've experienced whiteouts.
I was gonna say I don't know what the weather out in Ohio was like. Sam.
It's not as bad as like east, like northeast United States, but it gets bad. Like the Northeast gets fucking rocked, but like Ohio gets bad.
No, we get like a light dusting, and they cancel literally everything.
That's what it's like up here too, because I remember the amount, like earlier this year, back in like March, we had like, or February, like late February. No, because it was the week of Valentine's Day. That's why. We had this like snow emergency up here, and I was thinking about it, and it was just like, if this was Ohio, I'd be going to work right now. But
let me get my big coat.
But the difference is that these places that don't get a lot of snow and they get like what is quote quote a lot of snow, they don't have the infrastructure to deal with that stuff. So it changes things. Because like Seattle, Washington, this area is very hilly, and I basically couldn't leave my apartment in my vehicle because I live at the top of a hill and it was just ice, and there's nothing you can do but wait for it to melt, basically.
Boy, oh boy, it is.
So
it is just awful here. It's a chilly 74 degrees.
Fuck off. Anyway.
I think, Cole, there was that one time you experienced a whiteout when you went to the Vols game and the whole fan section took their shirts off.
Oh yeah. God. Yeah. No, that was a very, very, like, it was blindingly white.
Oh yeah.
At that time.
Sound like me when I take my shirt off.
Go Vols, GFL. What's up?
That's a whiteout. Take it off, Zach.
Hey, that's a whiteout.
I was hoping you were going to keep going. That's pretty good.
I thought about it, but I was just like, I think you
should. I think in post you should loop it like 5 more times.
Sure. But yeah, this was not.
I hated this.
Good.
I hated everything about this, and also you're carrying rocks, and that's it. But yeah, that's the cargo. Is you're carrying rocks, and the reason you're carrying them is because she's a spiritualist of some kind.
Yep, and she thinks that she can use the rocks to determine the cause of the Death Stranding and lay bare the secrets of the cosmos.
Shut up! No.
God,
this entire game has been about science and cool physics and maybe a little bit of time travel, and then all of a sudden you're to throw in the person who thinks that they can, I don't know, heal the common flu with like a couple pieces of amethyst. Get out of here. No, I'm not.
Don't forget the essential oils.
I was about to say, I'm waiting for the email where she's like, hey, Sam, if you need some essential oils, you can get them at the terminal. And if you sell this box of essential oils, you'll make a 4% profit.
Yeah, you'll be, and I'm your upline, so it'll be great.
God,
it's
like Verve energy drink all over again.
I'd love to see the description. It's like peppermint oil does literally nothing.
So no, it doesn't do literally nothing. It smells very good.
Sure. Makes BTs more likely to sniff you.
Yes, that's better. Anyway,
it's the anti-EX grenade.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's like, this pyramid, or this mountain used to be a pyramid.
No,
and I'm fucking weird.
No, it.
And then she says, here's a thing for you. I'm sure it'll help you on your journey. And I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. What do you got for me? You got like
After
a fucking
crazy journey all the way up to the peak of the fucking mountain. What'd we get, Sam?
A keychain. She gives you a fucking keychain. Fucking weirdo. Fuck.
I think it's at this point.
I hate multi-level marketing.
I threw the controller at this point. I literally was like, no, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. And then y'all.
I remember watching the wind up. I was like, ooh, let's see if he's about to fucking waste $60 here.
Yep. So after this happens, you get a call from Deadman. He says the BB is fixed, but he thinks it may have lost its memories after all, which sucks. But he says that they also have a problem, and he's referencing the supercell. He says he's not able to return to Mountain Knot, but there's a cabin nearby to meet him at, and it's pretty close by. It's not a difficult trek.
No.
That was a merciful choice on where he put the cabin in relation to the essential oils lady.
Because he had to fucking realize that between that journey and then fucking her, that we needed something like that. So it's a pretty quick journey. And you get there, as you get closer to the cabin, and the storm starts to pick up, and it's very rough. And Deadman comes outside. He tells Sam to stay back, but it's too late. The storm rips the cabin apart. It pulls Sam and Deadman along in with it. And guess what's about to happen, boys? We're into Chapter 7, Clifford.
The big red dog. Big red dad.
The big red dad.
The big red scare.
Oh yeah, it is the big red scare. Like 5 years later.
I was gonna say almost. We're in the events leading to the red scare.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we're in World War II.
We're in episode 7. Jesus Christ.
I'm just jumping right in there, Cole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, World War II, baby.
Because here's the thing. Being in World War II, better than climbing that mountain.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Fight me. Where am I wrong, Sam? Where am I wrong?
Why are you booing me? I'm right.
It's much more interesting. I tell you that much.
Why would I say something so controversial yet so brave? Because it's true.
I don't know, Eric Andre. Why would you? So anyway, the beginning of this chapter, you see that trailer of Deadman with BB in this war zone, and so he's scooting around trying to hide from various tentacle covered war machines and skeleton soldiers flitting about, and he kind of finds himself near a tunnel, and then the inky black stuff like starts filling up the area around where he's standing, and he hooks BB up, and then as soon as he does this, one of those baby dolls like hits his leg, and starts floating down the tunnel. And this struck me because Deadman kind of prepares himself to like look into the tunnel, and he takes a deep breath, and it's in slow motion. BB opens his eye, but only his right eye.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he only opens his right eye.
And
it's like,
my first reaction was like, "Oh, this is that fucking cutscene from the trailer."
This was, I believe, this was the second trailer ever released.
Yeah,
it was.
So he picked like one of the weirdest moments in the game to make a trailer of, and it's interesting seeing like where he pulled marketing pieces from.
Yeah.
Well, because I think we've seen like 85% of the stuff we've seen in the marketing material so far.
I think it might be more. Like, I think we're about to run out of marketing material.
Well, that's just from me with the limited amount of stuff I've seen. So I'm just assuming there was more that I hadn't seen.
Well, so everything that was at TGS was like in chapter 3.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Or chapter 2, getting to Port Knot. Like that was all that was in TGS.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So I think we've seen basically everything.
Well, never mind. That wasn't story based because he had people. Never mind. The only thing I can think of is the one part where he's fighting a catcher, and like, I mean, I assume that part he's just been pulled down somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, on TGS?
Yeah.
Oh, he was. I remember because that's that ruined city near Mama's lab. Like that's where he gets pulled down in the TGS trailer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure we've seen basically everything. I'll have to like watch some materials and just see what we're missing here. But I feel like we've got most of it.
In any case, what are we doing in World War II?
In any case, so BB opens his right eye, and then Deadman spins around and looks down the tunnel. And the baby doll starts to like glow red, and the camera follows it, and it floats down, and then you see down the tunnel.
It doesn't float; it gets pulled. There's like a tendril in the tar that wraps around its leg and pulls it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so it's being pulled down the tunnel, and then in the distance you see these like red glows down the tunnel, and it's the skeleton soldiers. And they're kind of like they're forming up, and they're doing that thing where they're wearing that anachronistic uniforms, but they're doing the modern tactics, like sweeping the area, and then of course, who comes marching down the hallway but Daddy Mads in some tactical gear?
Oh, there he is.
And he kind of like his like all of that like tar and ink is like floating out of his eyes, and the baby doll, he's like basking in the glow of like the sun that's like filtering down, and then the baby doll hits his leg and it opens its eye. And then he smiles very creepy.
I gotta say, I love too, because when he walks up, he's wearing a helmet with his the nods, which is night vision goggles, and how when he flips the nods up, that causes them and the helmet to disintegrate basically, and just that was a cool effect.
It, really
it
cool
is
scene.
Super cool.
I wish that's how it worked in real life. That shit gets heavy after a while.
Be so much easier.
Just gotta fucking clip it onto you somewhere else.
Yeah. And so the baby doll is tracking BB, right? Like it opens its eye when BB is nearby.
I think it's just sort of like an extendo vision for Cliff in general.
That's what I got out of it.
Well, I think it's the same thing, but like that's the thing is like what I noticed is that it's around, it creeps around, but it never opens its eye unless BB is like nearby. Like it opened its eye when it hit Deadman's leg because BB was like right there. I think that's what it is.
I never picked up on that. So I thought it was just sort of like, hey, there's something of interest here. Maybe it's like an abnormality compared to what they're used to.
That's kind of what I picked up on.
Because they go into detail. There's more detail on my theory later. It's sort of like because there's an abnormality, it's gonna, the baby doll's picking up on it, and therefore it's drawing Cliff there to check it out.
Okay,
that's my theory.
Little baby drones. But yeah, so after he does his creepy smile, the title card, episode 7, Clifford, pops up on the screen, and then Sam wakes up in World War II, and he gets a call from Deadman, and Deadman says that the leader of the soldiers might be their ticket out, and they kind of get into a conversation, and Sam's like, just don't connect BB because he's not looking for me, he's looking for BB. And he makes like a snide comment. He's like, and you never would because you hate the things, right? And Devin's like, I just did it because I was terrified. And he disconnects.
And Sam's just like, God damn it.
Yeah, basically. Because that was the whole purpose of episode 6 was to like, because like every time you connected a prepper, like he said, he got more and more positive towards BB as time went on.
Also, just a quick comment on that. I love how like, when Deadman would chirogram to you, there was a little chirogram of BB off to the side, and you'd see him doing like flips and shit in his little tank.
Yeah. But yeah, so Deadman disconnects BB. Sam says to fucking stay still. And Deadman says, "Look, if I have to choose between myself and BB, I'm out." And Sam's like, "You won't have to. I'm ending the call." And then before he does, Sam or Deadman says, "Look, I don't have any connections. I sought solace in the dead, and I made them this at the time. I was like, what the fuck?" He said, "I made them 70% part of who I am today." What does that mean? That's really weird.
That is really
That's a
weird.
very specific number.
I think it kind of also it's referring to like
no, it's referring exactly to what we're going to talk about a little bit later.
Yeah.
But yeah. But like at the time, you don't know about this yet, and so you're just like, what the fuck?
Well, there's a whole nother layer to it that makes sense now.
Yeah. And he says that meeting Sam has opened his eyes, and he says Sam is special. And then you have to find Dead Man, and you have to get to the sewers. And getting to the sewers wasn't hard. You just kind of run through the city. It's kind of like
getting out of the sewers that was a pain in the ass.
Well, getting out of the sewers. So what I liked about the sewers was that it was very spooky and it was very atmospheric, and the entire time you think something's going to happen.
And it never does. It had an Outcast vibe to it too, because it's like, oh, hold left bumper to go into Odekirk mode or use your binoculars or whatever. So you basically, it turns into almost like a first person section if you want it to for a little while.
Yeah,
like that's what I did because it made it a lot easier to control the Odekirk light and all that.
I just thought like I like what I like in games and in media in general is I like tension, and maybe this says a lot about me. Maybe I'm a psychopath, but I like tension that doesn't have a payoff. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing about horror and the thing about scary stuff that fucks with me is the payoff.
Yeah,
I like the feeling. I don't like the jump.
And you're talking about the whole concept of nothing is scarier.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just I like this little, and it was a very short section. I think there was a point where I might have been seeing things, but there's a point where I think you see the baby doll glowing float around the corner in front of you.
Oh, what?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that and that spooked me, and I was like, oh fuck.
Oh, but I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
It's like the red aura like shining up from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So saw that, but how'd you feel about the sewers, Chris?
I mean, yeah, it did create a lot of tension, and I was totally expecting a jump scare here, but I like that. I don't know. It's the stakes were higher in this scenario than the first encounter with the mysterious man. You know, because we didn't have baby. And Dead Man was with us, so we had like someone that we had to protect, I guess, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're in this really dark space too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it really upped the stakes here, and you just like, I don't know, Kojima got really good with the tension building here.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But yeah, so you get through the sewers, you climb down a ladder and then up some stairs, and Dead Man's on the other side of this fenced in area, and BB's with him, and BB seems very shy when he sees Sam, but he seems to have a shine to Dead Man, which upsets me.
You're not the only one, dude.
Yeah. So they're having a conversation, and then this bomb hits, and Dead Man presumes that this is a special beach for like soldiers and stuff like that. And Sam goes, "I'm surprised that you haven't abandoned BB." And Dead Man says, "I'd never abandon precious hardware like a fucking dick." And Sam takes BB from Dead Man and hooks up. And as he's doing this, Sam's having trouble like hooking up, and Dead Man says, "Hey, do you still share memories?" And Sam kind of gently shakes his head. And then as he does this, the Odenkirk starts freaking out, and Sam says he has to attend to some other memories. And Dead Man does this is kind of like weird, like the way he phrased this and like how he says it. But he goes, "I understand why you and BB grew attached to each other." And he says it's a tool, and technically life and death are supposed to be irrelevant. But he goes, "But you and me, Sam, we've gotten attached to each other too." And he said it a little weird, and
yeah.
And then Sam says the kid's name is Lou, and Deadman says, "Oh, Lou, it's a nice name." And they split up, and Deadman gets his head stuck in the bars for a second, and then like a child. But yeah, so they split up, and then you have a little short walk through the sewers, and then you reach this bell tower. Cliff is on his barbed wire, and the bell starts ringing, and Sam kind of like has like a moment with the bell. And the baby doll wakes Cliff up, and then he bamps to the ground, and lights another spooky cigarette, and then he tells his skeletons to go for it, and you're in another fight, baby.
Oh, but these aren't the World War II skeletons. These guys are
no, these are like modern like tack skeletons.
Yeah.
Like,
these guys are like fucking badass.
Yeah, these guys are decked out in like modern gear.
I probably took about a dozen screenshots of this scene alone. I was like, I'm gonna make this my fucking desktop background eventually.
But yeah, it's very cool. And my favorite thing about this too is that, so if you think about back to episode 4, Unger, where this happened for the first time, you get to the trenches, and the trenches are like maze-like. It's very claustrophobic. Here, it's a very open area, and with this central structure being this bell tower, and it changes the way that you strategize, and it changes the dynamic of what you're doing. And so while your goal is still the same, how you handle it is completely different, and it's still, what it's doing is still breaking up the delivery portions without being exactly carbon copy as the last one.
Well, yeah, because in the trenches you were basically playing peekaboo of like, oh shit, like pop around, pop off you for a few rounds, get back into cover. This was more akin to cat and mouse.
Yeah. And there was more space to like move around and like use grenades and try out different things than there was in the trenches as well.
Oh yeah.
And Glyph has some new moves here too. So he changes the way it changes like the way that combat is approached in the game.
I don't think I picked up on what you're talking about, Chris. What do you mean he had new moves?
Oh, he had just like a few new maneuvers. I think one of them was the grenade move. And then another was like how he would like summon these soldiers if you got him cornered. Did any of you guys get him cornered?
Yeah, he would, like it would look like dust kind of coming up in front of him, and then a soldier would just appear.
Yeah, like a body shield.
I don't think I ever had that happen.
Yeah, he makes a body shield.
Huh.
Yeah. So I guess it's like any video game like round 2 boss battle where it's like the same stuff, but like some new tricks. A little extra. Just a little bit, though.
A little extra. Give him a little razzle-dazzle.
Yeah.
Phasmophobia.
Give a little
razzle-dazzle phobia.
Spooky cigarette move.
Give him an unavoidable chin move. Let's do it. But like I said, the basic premise of what you're doing goes the same as your goal is to knock Cliff down enough times that he doesn't get back up again. And so we do this, and I think that, like, again, it's not difficult, I don't think, but it's different and it feels different, and that's why it's good. That's why I like it.
Yeah, it breaks the pacing of the game up in a nice way.
There was actually a couple of times where I felt like strained on some of my resources with the guns. I was like, oh shit, I'm almost out of bullets on my assault rifle. Like, what am I going to do here? And it makes you think more about what you're doing, I think.
Oh, see, so, I would just hit the fucking scan button. It'd be like shotgun over here, grenades over here, assault rifle over here. So I'd just dump the rest of my ammo, then take off at a sprint for the next one.
I mean, that's also a valuable tactic, so good for you. Does anything have anything special to say about this particular combat section?
I felt it was a good part 2 to the part 1 from World War One.
Agreed.
It has me real excited to see where they go for the next one, which conflict they said. Oh, I remembered something from earlier. So I thought it was interesting how, we've got the themes of the beaches and that's like the main story for the Dead. And I was both surprised but also impressed that Kojima didn't go with the glaringly obvious choice of Normandy Beach for this scenario.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that would be another like very, very heavy-handed like symbolism thing, and
which is why I'm impressed and glad that he didn't, because that would have been. I mean, that would have been the obvious choice if you think about it. World War II beaches, bloodiest battle. Yeah.
Well,
thank God, because how many more times do we need to see Normandy in a video game?
Right, it's happened so much.
Yeah, I think too, like. With Kojima, maybe there are some things that are just a little sacred, you know? And I don't think the goal here was to like put you in an environment that was already heavily like drenched in symbolism. You know, he wanted to do something that still gave you that tone and that feeling of like being in combat. But it was also like a very strange and alien environment too.
Oh yeah.
After this is I feel like I was gonna say something. Oh, I was gonna say something. I think my next theory, and this is something we've discussed before several weeks ago. I think the next one, whenever the next one happens, is gonna be Nam.
So I think so too, just from what you, me and Alessio discussed offline over text, just from that one shot in the final like story trailer.
It looks like a very much like Nam jungle scene.
Well, so I didn't even notice that. The thing that picked it up for me was they were in fatigues that were very similar to what our World War II boys were wearing, which made sense because the uniforms weren't all that different. But also, one of them was carrying an M60 machine gun, which basically saw its introduction in the Vietnam War.
So,
I think that's my biggest clue for that.
It's really interesting because it kind of does tell, if you're going with this whole like America narrative, reunite America. Those three wars specifically have such strong and specific meanings in the American mythology, you know? Like World War I was like our first entry onto the global stage, just as a country. And then World War II is like where we became a superpower. And Vietnam was like, many saw it as kind of like the beginning of the end of this American dominance. You know? I'm sure Cole has thoughts on that too, given that we're both history majors, but
well, Cole, do you have thoughts?
I don't know if I have any currently. Because the game's doing a really great job of kind of subverting my thoughts and expectations. You know, I'll be the first one to shout to the heavens that Amelie's a good person, but you know, obviously that's a meme at this point. And I think the same thing is happening here with Cliff and the allegory. So I'm cautious to say anything. I mean, I agree with Chris that with what he just said. I think he summed the point quite nicely. But yeah, sorry. I'm just kind of at a loss right now.
I mean, Cliff just wants his baby. He wants his BB.
He just wants his BB.
Yeah.
And he truly does, because after you knock him down, he kind of like crawls towards you, and he kind of mutters to himself. He says, "This is all my fault. I should have never put you in in that prison." And Cliff kind of looks at the Ludens keychain, and on BB's tank, and then he springs up and starts trying to choke Sam. And he's like strangling Sam, and Sam rips Cliff's dog tags off, and they kind of like Cliff falls into him, and they kind of like do a weird hug move, and then it kind of like focuses on their faces and Sam's face, and then it flashes back. It does another flashback of a memory, and Cliff is on the ground, and he's holding BB, and his dog tags are kind of dangling from his shirt, and there are some dudes that are looking for him, and they find the door, and they say the security panel has been disabled, and they say that they will have to breach, and they go to find some tools, and then it flashes into this next part, and so yeah, the next part, I think it could reasonably be considered part of episode 8, but I think it ties in better with episode 7, so we're gonna talk about it. So if you didn't play past exactly the end of Cliff's, like the battle with Cliff, turn your earmuffs off and come back in after you've like gotten to this particular point. But yeah, so Sam wakes up after this all happens, and he walks over to the pod where BB is supposedly sleeping, and it's covered, it's black, and it looks rough, and he picks it up, and Heart Attack Central, it is replaced with one of the baby dolls, and it scared the shit out of me. And again, the jump scares, hate that part. And he wakes up for real and checks on BB, or Lou, I should say now, or we can call him Lou now. He sees that Lou's kind of not responding, and Deadman checks in, and Lou seems to like Deadman again. But yeah, Deadman says that he slept for a whole day, and he had all of his stuff brought to the safe house here. And Deadman apologizes to Sam and says that he realized Lou was going to be the name of the name that he gave his own child if he had made it. And so Sam's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Deadman tells the story about a guy that worked for Bridges with Dooms that was a repatriate, was trying to get to his wife in the center of town before she died. I guess there was she was dead, and there was going to be a void out, and there was, and it wiped out this entire town, and the only person that was left was this guy because he was a repatriate. And so people started to blame him for the void out, and eventually they started blaming Bridges for the void out. And you find out in all of this that she was pregnant, and that her name was Lucy, and that the two of them were going to name their child Lou. Sam claims didn't happen, and Deadman's like, look, Bridget told me all about it, dude. And she says, she quotes Bridget and says he didn't have to cut all ties and walk away. And then Deadman does his cuff thing and brings up a hologram of the picture, the family picture, and it still has the timefall mark on Lucy's, what we assume is now Lucy's face. And Sam gets really mad, and he tells Deadman to shut the fuck up, and Deadman's like, look, calm down, take a seat. And then Deadman lays his soul bare, and this is that 70% thing that we got at earlier. He says, look, I'm Frankenstein's monster. I was grown from pluripotent stem cells, and when most of my organs malfunction, they just replaced them with organs from cadavers so that he could become whole. He says he has no birthday, he has no ka, he has no beach, and that he is a dead man. And he asks Sam, he's like, look, do you understand now why I'm so obsessed with death? And he says, I hated that war beach, but I knew that you were coming, and that's the first time I've ever felt connected to someone like that before. And then Deadman says, look, I was shit. Deadman says, Bridget was right. You didn't have to cut all ties and walk away. And Sam was like, look, there wasn't much to walk away from because I wasn't welcome there in the first place. And Deadman goes, look, even I was welcome there. So that's bullshit, basically. And then Sam notices the dog tags that he pulled on the table. And Deadman says he looked up the name in their records. And we find out that the man's name, that from the leader of these squads, his name is Clifford Unger, in the Bridges databases, and that he was U.S. Army Special Forces, and he fought in Iraq and Kosovo and a bunch of places in the Middle East. And he says he'll keep digging on him, but that's all they kind of have right now. And then Deadman says that the Die Hardman issue won't be a concern going forward, and that their conversations won't be recorded anymore before he says you should take a shower. I won't be in there this time. And leaves. And that's kind of like where we leave us. This next section is going to be leading up into episode 8, so we won't talk about that until next week. But yeah, that's it. We did it. Episodes 5 through 7.
Oh yeah.
Daddy Mads is a Green Beret, so he's certifiably badass.
U.S. Army Special Forces. And I hear he's a nice guy. He's
a nice boy, Bubby.
He knows how to build a team.
But some kind of Suicide Squad.
Oh, come on. Boo. Boo. Sam, cue it here. A crowd booing you for that one.
I refuse. I refuse this request, sir.
So my big O moment before, with the whole like 70% thing, it also clicked for me. It's like, oh, dead things have beaches. Beaches are connected to water. Earth is 70% water. 70% water, 70% dead, 70% of the beach.
Oh my god!
That's where my mind went, and it makes sense because the numbers line up.
Yeah, I think you might have thought about that one a little too hard. But
I think you just.
I appreciate.
It's just like It's just like the painting and the broken hinges in the escape room. I focused on that and nothing to do with the actual solution.
You just Rain Man Death Stranding. That's what you just did.
Yeah. Oh fuck! Oh my god, we gotta get out of here, man. Yeah. That's been an episode. Thank you guys for joining us one more time. Not as hefty of a chunk as last week, but still a hefty chunk, I think. But it's great. We're going to talk more next week. We're going to talk about at least episode 8. We'll discuss what we're going to be doing next week soon. Because I definitely have to play it. I haven't touched it since I beat episode 7.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you and me both, man.
So
I'm taking a break from it.
Okay. So that'll be next week. Tune in for part 3. But yeah, in the meantime, you can find us on the internet. We have a lot of places that we go. We have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have all kinds of stuff. You can find all that information at metalgearmondays.com to find our social media. You can also join us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/metalgearmondays, where you can join us for as little as $1. Join our Discord, join the discussion. It's super lit in there. Check it out. We've got a lot of new faces that we're very excited to be talking to and to have on our crew here. So that's pretty cool. The other thing that I did want to mention is that we are doing an outer op on this game. So when we're done with our coverage, we want to hear what you guys think about Death Stranding. So write in. Email us, contact@metalgearmondays.com. Tell us what you think. We want to hear from you. We want to read your thoughts. Please do not be offended if we do not respond to your emails if you send them around this stage of time, because there's a good chance that we have not beaten the game yet and we do not want spoilers. So,
guaranteed.
So if we don't respond, please do not be offended. Please know that we have received your emails and we will be reading them. Just mark it like Death Stranding thoughts for podcast or something like that, and I'll make sure it gets to the right place and we will read them.
And if you do spoil anything, me and a squad of spooky, scary skeleton soldiers are going to be under your bed.
They're coming for you. It's the boogeyman.
It's the Bubby Man.
It's the Bubby Man. Oh. The Bubby Man's coming for you.
Bubby Yaga.
I'm so verklempt. And then please also consider going on iTunes, or I'm sorry, it's not iTunes anymore. It's Apple Podcasts. Consider going on Apple Podcasts and reviewing the show. Leave a 5-star review, leave just a review and let us know what you think. And it helps us get seen and out there. So check that stuff out. And I think that's just about all of my general pleas and information. Cole, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at I am Cole Duncan, and you can find me on Instagram at Subterranean Homesick Brews.
What about you, Zach? Where can they find you on the internet?
You can email me at zachjames@aol.stillworking.com. You can also, if you want to chat during the day, you can reach out to me on AOL Instant Messenger. I'm on MySpace under Zach James, and I've got a pretty good following going on my recently opened Vine channel, so check me out on that. Also at Zach James.
Are you going to actually answer the question, or are you just going to be a smart ass?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at author Zach James.
Thank you, sir. And Chris, where can they find you on the internet?
So I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The same username, Chris Hampton II.
All right. No LinkedIn this week?
Well, just come to Nashville. Come to East Nashville, and I'll buy you a beer.
Perfect.
Don't look me up. Just buy a fucking plane ticket. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Misconnections, baby. Whatever. You can find me on the internet at Sanjul. That's SANJUUL. You can also find me on YouTube at bit.ly/Sam does a thing. I'd appreciate if you checked those out. I'm very funny. And that's it. I don't want to get us to our outro this week, so I'm outsourcing it to one of you guys. Fight amongst yourselves. Go.
So if you guys want to talk to me more, I'm also on PictoChat on the Nintendo DS.
Oh, no. Oh.
All right.
Oh.
Alrighty.
So if they added you on PictoChat and they sent you fuck. I hate that I have a connection with you or something.
Oh.
Good night, everybody.
That's it. I'm cutting the fucking recording. God damn it.
I feel you and I might have like a connection. Something.
Hey, that's a whiteout.